Dreamy and drooling, falling for the fooling. Mental slaves sell out or get bought out for cooning. Being your example to follow with no strain. Meant means mind, so govern and entertain is more than you imagine. Carbon is melanin, Quran and Bible angels are cherubim and seraphim. Riding on the light angles, traveling at warp speed. We created crossbreeds, now we can't walk free. The mind is the plantation, everything is mental. Even filling your brother with lead like a pencil. Mercenaries with chalk use bodies as a stencil. If rival gangs won't stop you, barbed wire fence will. It could take more, but it might take less. Cursing your God on Job's, cashing the fake checks. Spending fake monopoly money, counterfeit at best. When you see something is wrong, you need to counter it best as you can. You don't need a magic wand or to click your heels twice to escape dreamland. Just use your mind. If you can't relate, you're living in an illusion, slave to the dream state. If you just heard about Drew Ali, don't think he's late. He brought nationality and link back to your East state. As Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shake them by the shoulders, wake them from their dream state. If you just heard about Drew Ali, don't think he's late. He brought nationality and link back to your East state. As Negro and black, we act like we can't see straight. Shake them by their shoulders, wake them from their dream state.
Grateful for the bookstore for letting us use this space, for Kudjo for coming down here to build with us. Been studying for a little bit, came into some of this information about our indigenous and aboriginal presence in this land, and it's just been Pandora's box since then, so I'm just here to learn some more as well. So without further ado, Kudjo L.
Peace, peace. Before could somebody call Mom back there too? Alright, have her come up for a sec. Moms! Yeah, let's get her for a sec. Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Thank y'all for coming out. We had a game plan what we're gonna talk about and all that stuff, but people have so many questions about Moorish movement, what it is, and just in their own studies. So we'll start off by opening up with questions. If anybody got questions, you can throw those up, and we'll answer the questions with some of the information that we're going to present as far as the lecture is concerned today. To start, how many people have heard of King Alfred Plan? Nobody? All right. Before I do that, I don't usually do lectures. I'm Kudjo L. I came from Canaanland, what people call Canada, and out there we have a Moorish Science Temple out there, the first Moorish Science Temple there, and what we do is basically same thing that's happening right here, right now. In January, we usually have a celebration for Noble Drew Ali's birthday. Noble Drew Ali's birthday is January 8th, 1886. So every January we acknowledge community people with awards, Noble Drew Ali awards, so that they can be inspired to continue the work that they're doing. So before we go further, we just wanted to put that out. You can have, we got 2 certificates here. We got 1 certificate for Nubian Culture Bookstore for allowing us to be here in your establishment. One thing, it's beautiful establishment. If we could give a round of applause for the bookstore, because we know how important it is for our people to get knowledge of themselves, right? So we want to acknowledge you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
We appreciate you, everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
And the fact that, you can assist in bringing us all the way from Canada when there's people there who don't even want this information. I came up in the community doing a lot of community work, youth work, etc. When I was black, everybody had my number. They call me, come talk to their youth and all that stuff. As soon as we started talking about Moorish science, all that was eliminated. All that calling me to come talk to their youth and stuff like that was done for. Like, I don't get calls anymore. Just because I'm saying I'm a Moor now. And this is people who I've known 15, 20 years. Came up together in the streets, came conscious together. But some people stuck to the black, African, whatever agenda. And, you know, myself and some other brothers, sisters, we started delving into more science. And, you know, as soon as we started doing that, immediately we recognized that there's propaganda against this. Immediately we realized that people don't want this information amongst the common people. They only want the elite people to have this information about Moorish history and its connection to our salvation, liberation, freedom, all the stuff that we're fighting for, marching, picketing, lying in the street for, but they don't want to proclaim their nationality because majority of them don't know. And the reason that they don't know is because some black guy, Negro, colored, whatever leader told them that. So honors to the bookstore. And as well, there's a website, northgatemoors.webs.com. So we're gonna acknowledge them too. Well, that's, you know, Sister Krishna, you wanna come up, get your props. Right? If you haven't, check out the website, northgatemoors.webs.com. If you wanna write that one down, a lot of information there. So we're talking about King Alfred Plan. If you go to the website rvbaypublications.com, you can get this book. King Alfred Plan came from computers that were being sold in government auctions, and all the stuff wasn't wiped off of it. And this is one of the documents that was on one of those computers, and then somebody put it out. And now it's out there. We're gonna read a couple pages because it really is about people doing the research, but there's a couple interesting things that they bring up in this relative to the topic. Who told us that we came here on a slave ship? The executive order number 11490, the Rex 84 plan, and silent weapons for quiet wars, has been in the hands of the popularly accepted individuals calling themselves the black leaders since the early 70s. So at least since the early 70s, what we're going to talk about right now, all the so-called black leaders that we see in the public, that we see write books or whatever, they already have this. So this is not something that we're just bringing up today or whatever. This has been around since the 70s. And they refuse to bring this to the people's attention. But as soon as, you know, white police officer shoots a black man, you know, they're quick to come stand up in front of people and want to give speeches, want to make people march all over the place to get nothing, right? Many have spoken of them, but few have logistically broken them down and disseminated the information to their alluring public. The King Alfred Plan implicates the true motive and reason why they do not. One will take note that all the people mentioned in these government plans, blacks, Indians, Latinos, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, do not include a de jure national name or title. For those who don't know, you want to just pass this out. If everybody could take one of these. That's a CD with Black's Law Dictionary on it. Because if we don't know the meaning of words from a law perspective, we're pretty much done for, just like we've been done for, right? Hopefully there's enough in there for everybody. If not, just, you know, copy it, circle it around to everybody else so they could get it. De jure, from a law perspective, just means true or real. In comparison to de facto, which is fake. So if you hear the term being mentioned de facto, know that that's not real. It's a term that the democracy mainly uses under the guise of having authority, right? De jure is, you know, when you have, for example, Louisiana State Republic, right, versus State of Louisiana, right? State of is a corporation. Republic is the actual de jure name of the real government of the jurisdiction. All these words are descriptive chattel brands coined by Europeans as substitute pedigree parentage names and were forced as appellations on the indigenous people of the Americas and their own discards. All people bearing these labels, blacks, Indians, Latino, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites, are referred to as it. So all people that are referred to as black, Indian, Latino, Puerto Ricans, and poor whites are referred to as it. That's why police don't get indicted when they kill a black man, because he didn't kill a human being. He killed a it. He killed a chair. And a chair doesn't have rights to go to Supreme Court or nothing like that. And it's that simple. But again, we have the so-called black leaders pushing this agenda, and they've been pushing this agenda from prior to the 60s. Capitalized black and capitalized Negro, and you know, let's make these real identities, when whether it's capitalized or not, it means it. And as soon as you classify yourself as it, you fall under the jurisdiction of things, not human beings. And all things have no rights, right? All things that aren't living don't have rights. There was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, some brother shot a police dog. He got 30 years or something like that, because he killed a police dog, right? So they're letting people know, they're putting it out there. They might not say it how Moors say it, but they're putting it out there. That keep playing the game. They'll do whatever they're going to do to you. Another good example that we could use as far as not calling yourself something that you're not, making sure that you're very clear that you're not Negro, black, colored people. Making sure of that's a mindset that you have and that you pass on to your children or people that you know, that they're not Negro, black, colored. Nazi Germany. We could talk, you know, whatever about Hitler and whatever he did. Forget about that. How come he did what he did? Because he took the authoritative position in a quote-unquote country called Germany. And he made the claim, Germany for the Germans. And then whoever was down with it, Germany for the Germans. Who's not down with it, either go home where you come from. So they set up all these boats at the harbor. Everybody who had a problem with being German or had a problem with Germany, go on the boat, go back where you came from. Everybody did that except these few people who were German that wanted to be Jews. Now, we know that Jew isn't a nationality. Jew doesn't identify a pedigree or a heritage or whatever. Jew is a degree of knowledge, right? That's like somebody saying, I belong to the Christian nation. It's something that doesn't exist. So, because they took the position of saying, we don't want to call ourselves Germans, we want to call ourselves Jews, in the jurisdiction of Germany, where only Germans are, then they became subject, just like Negro, black, colored people are subject right now for being what they're not. They became subject to oven, shoot them, put them in a hole, 50 of them in a hole, cover it up and pretend like nothing happened. Same thing going on right now with these people that want to be Negro, black, colored people, thinking that that's an identity. right? And again, we're not taking away anything about the negative stuff that Hitler did. He's an evil man. We're not giving him props. We just want people to recognize the reality of what we're dealing with. Right now, it's the conspiracy theorists call it depopulation. When they start killing people for no reason, and nobody knows why, but they're just killing people for no reason. Well, if you check the record of the U.S. citizens and people recognizing that U.S. citizen is a fraud, and they're denouncing their U.S. citizenship to be something else. Facebook guy did it. When Facebook went IPO and they were starting to go make some money or whatever, immediately he said, you're going to go to Switzerland or whatever, proclaim his nationality there, get married so IRS can't come take his stuff. Immediately he did that. It wasn't something he was waiting around for. Immediately he proclaimed his nationality. I'm Swiss. Why? Because his wife's Swiss. And now they can't touch him. And he gets to keep all his stuff. But you know, look at Wesley Snipes, all these other people, Lauryn Hill, Negro black colored people, pretending that they got some authority because they made a record, they made $1 million or whatever like that. But now they're under the jurisdiction of the IRS, who's a foreign, the IRS has nothing to do with the United States government. That's a foreign organization, corporation, whatever, that's taxing people. And they're willingly paying tax. When they know that they're a fraud, it's not like it's a secret. The people know. Just by the tactics that the IRS uses, you know that they can't be government if they do stuff like that. Just tell people you need to pay 80 million because you made 50 million and you didn't give us a cut of your 50 million, so we're going to bring you to court. Right? That stuff only happens to Negro black colored people. Everybody else, they have a nationality that backs them. Matter of fact, IRS not even going to no Europeans talking about they or whatever. Right? One common thread is evident. No nationality equals no rights and no human value. No nationality equals no rights, so there's no protection, and no human value. So you're not even considered a human being if you don't have a nationality. This is why after the slavery era, there was this man from North Carolina who was dark-skinned, but he was born in the Cherokee tribe. And he came and started telling people that you're not Negro black colored or Ethiopian, because those names were given to slaves by slaveholders. So if we know that we're not Negro black colored, the next logical question is, what are we? If we're not what they say that we are, then what are we? And this is where Noble Drew Ali comes in, because he gave us everything that it takes for us to be saved. And we didn't deal with that. We didn't follow the program. So here we are. You gotta come all the way from Canada to do lectures talking about you're Moors, when black leaders should have been told you this. Anybody who put you on to knowledge of self, that's the first thing they should have told you. Yeah, you know that you're Moors? And then go talk about all the other stuff. The first thing they should have told you is that you're Moors. Why? Because they were taught that. Elijah Muhammad used to go to Moorish Science Temple meetings. Fard Muhammad used to go to Moorish Science Temple meetings. Marcus Garvey got visited by Noble Drew Ali when he was in Atlanta prison before he got deported. But Garveyites are never going to bring that up. They're going to say, oh yeah, Moors are lying, no such thing or whatever. Right? Nation of Islam, they're going to be telling, oh yeah, nah, Moors are lying. Even though 2014, Farrakhan at Savior's Day had a big speech about Noble Drew Ali, talking about how great Noble Drew Ali was, how much, you know, he's the first person to bring Islam to America and all that. But how come they don't honor him? How come they're honoring Fard Muhammad? When Farrakhan told them that Noble Drew Ali brought Islam to America, anybody who says that they're Islamic in America, they owe supreme allegiance to Noble Drew Ali. But they don't go there. Because as soon as they go there, that means they lose all their popularity. Just like Sis was talking about when she used to go to church and then they pass around the plate, then they go in the back, count the money, we don't got enough, send the plate around again. And then they send the plate around again. And people pay again. So that means that they just did 20% tithes. If you pay twice, and 10% is what you're supposed to pay. Right? And then speaking about that, and then they got that mall over there that they turned to a church. And nobody's not recognizing something? That these people are being played? That they took a mall and made it into a church. A mall. Like a mall. They didn't build another mall. They took a mall and made it a church. You know, we saw that yesterday. That thing's still blowing my mind. That a mall is a church? What do you mean what do you mean a mall is a church? And that's not government funds. That's all those people who go to that funds that made that happen. But don't forget, they get government funds too, so they got paid twice. And I guarantee you that all those people who go to that church, they got mortgage they can't pay, car note they can't pay, child care they can't pay, they're on welfare, they're getting food stamps or whatever like that. But a mall is a church. And they're not questioning nothing? Right? Are any of these states assigned black leaders, including all those guys in the church or whatever, speaking of or educating their people in recourse, redress, remedy, or sovereignty? Do they instruct or do they not? That is the question. And we already know that they don't talk about this at all. So with regard to today, who told you that you came here on a slave ship? Remember, this is a U.S. government military document. This is something that all the high levels of government know about, right? This memo is being submitted in lieu of a full report from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. That report is now in preparation. There will be many cities where the minority will be able to put into the street a superior number of people with a desperate and dangerous will. He will be a formidable enemy, for he is bound to the continent by heritage and knows that political asylum will not be available to him in other countries. This is the Europeans' mindset, like what we're talking about, sis, with, you know, we're the majority, they're the minority, but it seems that they have more power or whatever, or they're telling you why right here. He will be a formidable enemy, meaning us. For he is bound to the continent by heritage. So if we're bound to the continent by heritage, that means we didn't come over here on a slave ship. But then this is why they don't talk about this. Because then that destroys their slave myth that they've been pushing in order to get the people to be in a dumb mindset, to be in a stupid mindset. That they say, you know, I know myself, cultural and whatever like that, you know, they got kufis and ankhs and whatever, but you ask them their nationality, they don't know. You ask them who they are, they don't know. They're going to say white man killed cracker or whatever, but they got white man's license in their pocket. So if you have his stuff in your pocket, doesn't that mean that you're siding with the same enemy that you're talking about you're against? And that's the hypocrisy of our people that they don't want to accept. And the only way that they'll accept it is by pain. And even with pain, they don't accept it. Because there's people getting choked out on the street right now for not having a nationality. And they still, you know, now Moors don't know what they're talking about. Those are black Muslim guys and forget what they say. But people getting choked out though. And nobody can show me a Moor that got choked out by some police yet. Or shot up or whatever. Right? So they know that we are a formidable enemy. And we're bound to this continent by heritage. Right? The European knows what's up. If you've never seen this before, this is the flag of Corsica. This head is called a Moor's head. This head is on every single family of European names in Europe. On their crest, their family crest has this head on it. Every single name in Europe, not some of them, every name in Europe that a European has right now, this head is on their crest. This head is on the Pope's crest right now. When he goes around the world, he has a big banner that he puts up with a Moor's head on it. So if you're European, this is why Noble Drew Ali made the statement, if the European helped me, why not you? If the European could recognize that they're connected to the Moors and have a flag at their house with a Moor on it, not a European on it, they have a flag at their house with a Moor on it. But we don't want to be Moors. We want to stay being black people. Right? They know. Right? Mecca, Muhammad, and Cairo in America. What's in a name? Spread across the United States, but especially in the Midwest and the South, are several towns and cities bearing Middle Eastern, if not explicitly Arabic names. Mecca, Muhammad, Morocco, Cairo. Don't forget, right up here, you guys got Carthage up here, which goes back to the Moors, Hannibal. Right? They got Broadmoor.
Yeah.
Right? Broadmoor, and it's Broad M-O-O-R, not M-O-R-E-M-U-R or whatever like that, fake stuff. M-O-O-R. Out here.
Broadmoor.
Broadmoor. Carthage. Why is Carthage in Louisiana? How'd Carthage get in Texas? I mean, how'd Carthage get there?
I always wondered how they got Carthage, Texas.
Right? And then also too, in this picture you'll see, notice the headwear that the brother is wearing. So just to touch on how Carthage got here. George Stewart, Names of the Land, offers some explanation, but not only for Cairo, Illinois. Various imaginative people had not failed to compare the Mississippi with the Nile. Right? Various imaginative people. So people who think. People who don't think, Mississippi's a river or whatever. Right? But they don't recognize that Mississippi flows south to north, just like the Nile flows south to north. Only river to do that. Right? Analogies were obvious enough. Both were great and muddy rivers, given to inundations, highways for travel. When you hear about part of the slave myth of being brought over here in ships and whatever, stuff like that, is because of sailing the Mississippi River. Part of the concept is because remember that when the Europeans came here, there were people here already. So they just took those people, labeled them slave or whatever, put them on some ships, went up the Mississippi, said, oh yeah, we took them from Africa to America. Because to Europeans, the Mississippi is a version of the Nile. So technically it's Africa over here, right? There's Egypt over here. There's Memphis in Tennessee, Memphis in Kemet. Because over here is Africa to certain people. Over here is Africa, not over there. Over there is Asia. Imaginative people know that this side of the hemisphere is Africa. So when, there's a lot of older people here, you remember when being told, go back to Africa, nigger, you're not from here and all that stuff. Right? We were already in Africa. And that was a play that they were playing in order for us to disconnect mentally. And once we disconnect mentally, then physically they can take over. Once we disconnect mentally, from over here being ours, then they can physically come underneath our beliefs and take over everything, which is what they've done, which is why we're in the situation that we're in right now. Because we've been completely fooled by not just European, but mainly by our own, who's been had this knowledge. And they refuse to tell people. They write all these books. You go through all these books in here, you might find 5 books or something that mention Moors in the proper perspective. Everything else talk about African, black people, Negro people or whatever, African this, and all these misnomers. When the reality of the situation is that Asa G. Hilliard's book over there, The Maroon Within Us, everybody should get that. Because that's really telling you what's up. Because the idea is that the Maroons are the rebellious slaves. And everybody should adopt that mentality in order for us to... It's a serious act of rebellion to say that you have a nationality, to say that you're a Moor. Just try it out here. Just try it. Just say that you're a Moor to some people out here. Europeans, whatever. We went to Mo's, go eat some. Walk into Mo's, the fez is on, and Europeans just in awe. That's obviously not a black guy. Something's different about him. Just because I have a fez on. You know, I dress like everybody else out here. But just because I have a fez on, they looked at me totally different than they look at everybody else. And this, and no, don't forget that, you know, the talk is that, you know, in the South and the Klansmen and, you know, racism and all that stuff, and then people buy that. When everybody knows that there's one race on the planet, the human race, and the human race is divided into nations. And anybody who belongs to a nation has a nationality. Anybody. Right? The hope was also expressed that a new and greater civilization, surpassing even that of ancient Kemet, might soon develop along this Nile of America. This is a European talking. That the Nile of America is known as the Mississippi River. The Nile of America is known as the Mississippi River. And that a greater civilization is going to surpass that of even Kemet or ancient Egypt. Surpass it. And when you go to the Mississippi, and you go from the south all the way to the north, what do you find in the Mississippi? Mounds everywhere. And then mounds are pyramids made of dirt. And then mounds are what our people made over here, which is the physical representation of a pyramid before pyramids were stone. The idea of pyramid comes from the mounds, not the other way. The mounds were first, and then they did the pyramids to replicate the mounds because, you know, they got more advanced, started using different materials to express themselves. Such analogies and hopes soon suggested the transplanting of Egyptian names. In 1818, a St. Louis merchant laid out a town at the junction of Ohio and the Mississippi and incorporated it as Cairo. The site was unhealthy and bad luck dogged the town. Charles Dickens in Martin Chuzzlewit pilloried it as the city of Eden. It never rivaled its prototype, but the influence of its name was great. Because of Cairo, all southern Illinois came to be known as the land of Egypt. Because of this one place being named Cairo in Illinois, all the south of Illinois became known as Egypt. What's Egypt doing over here? And if Egypt is over here, doesn't that mean that over here is Africa? If Egypt's over here? If Egypt is on this side, we already know that it's over there. But if we find out that there's Egypt over here, Cairo over here, Memphis over here, Carthage here, all these African names are in America, then obviously this must be America too. It must be Africa. It must be that. It can't be anything else. Why would they name it African names? Nathaniel Douche, D-E-U-T-S-C-H, more recently has addressed others of these names in his study of Tribe of Ishmael in America. In one section, he critically analyzes the Islamic hypothesis of Hugo Leeming. Douche discusses Mahomet, M-A-H-O-M-E-T, Illinois, and the towns of Morocco and Mecca in Indiana. Place in Indiana called Morocco. Place in Indiana called Mecca. Over here. Even though the names of Midwest towns like Mohammed, Morocco, and Mecca do not teach us anything about the Ishmaelites, they do teach us something important about the presence of Islam in Middle America. Now, Islam's been in America. In order for so-called Negro, black, colored people to propagate Islam in America, that's because of Noble Drew Ali. Right? The concept of Islam being here is ancient. Islam's always been in America. But in order for our people to be able to exercise that faith called Islam and call themselves Muslim, Asiatic, all these things, is because of the influence of Noble Drew Ali. Right? Residents of towns like Morocco and Mecca were attached to these names for the same reason that they joined the ancient order of the nobles of the mystic shrine, that's the Shriners, visited and simulated streets of Cairo at Chicago's World Fair of 1893, and smoked cigarette brands called Camel, Mecca, and Medina. A formerly rugged places like Indiana and Illinois ceased to mark the American frontier. Residents began to turn their gaze from the Middle West to the Middle East in search of a new frontier, one to be imagined and consumed rather than physically settled. During the same period that Shriners with names like Johnson and Kelly were donning fezzes and meeting in places like the Mohammed Temple in Peoria, Illinois, Arab immigrants from the Middle East were beginning to arrive in significant numbers in the United States. In the 1880s and 1890s, Muslim, Christian, and Druze Arabs established substantial communities throughout the Midwest, both in large cities like Detroit and Chicago, and in smaller towns like Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Spring Valley, Illinois. We will probably never know whether Mecca, Indiana, received its name from Muslim laborers who settled in the town during this period, but more importantly, the local legends that suggest such an origin for the name of Mecca point to the broader phenomenon of Muslim settlement in rural towns across the Midwest. And you can get George R. Stewart's book, Names of the Land, and Nathaniel Douche, D-E-U-T-S-C-H, Inventing America's Worst Family, Eugenics, Islam, and the Fall and Rise of the Tribe of Ishmael. Any questions so far? Everybody's good? All right. Arizona Gazette. Remember, this is all going with the theme of who said that we came over here on a slave ship. All right? Arizona Gazette, April 5th, 1909. Mysteries of immense high cavern being brought to light. Remarkable finds indicate ancient people migrated from the Orient. According to the story related to the Gazette by Mr. Kincaid, the archaeologists of the Smithsonian Institute, which is financing the expeditions, have made discoveries which almost conclusively prove that the race which inhabited this mysterious cavern new in solid rock by human hands, hewn in solid rock by human hands, was of Oriental origin, possibly from Egypt, tracing back to Ramses. Right? Oriental origin. But they were from Egypt though. There's an African origin, not black origin, not, Kemetic origin, Oriental origin. Why? Because everybody that studies knows that Africa is South Asia. Why? Because Africa comes from a Roman general, Scipio Africanus, who conquered the Moors in North Africa, and because he conquered the Moors, they named that place Africa after his name. But that's really Asia. Just like over here, there's America South and America North. Over there, there's Asia South, Asia North. That's why if you check, if you do your research on mining in South Africa, you'll find that mainly Chinese people are doing that. And everybody's mad. All Africans are mad that Chinese are going to Africa to go dig up mines. And nobody's not asking the question as to why are they going there. They got mines in China they could go dig. Why are they going to South Africa to go dig? Because they have jurisdiction there, just like they have jurisdiction in Russia or wherever else. Because all that's Asia. And you can't tell them, we can't dig here. They have to let them dig because that's their land too. It's not just African dark-skinned people's land. It's Chinese land too. Same thing with America. Chinese were over here before the European. The European is the most modern race on the planet. And they're the only ones that aren't us. Everybody else is us. Hindus are us. Asians, Chinese, whoever, Taiwanese, Filipino, whatever, all those people are us. They're not separate. All those people are Asiatics. And they acknowledge themselves as such. But they're not going to talk to us because we don't call ourselves Asiatics. We call ourselves Negro, Black, African, American, whatever like that. And they know that that's a fraud. They know that that's not our identity. But hey, if we want to call ourselves chair and everybody's feet are tired or whatever, they're going to sit on us. And we can't complain. Because we called ourselves something that we're not. We chose to not recognize that Africa is the Orient. We chose to do that. Our people chose to lie to us and tell us that, oh yeah, continent of Africa, when they know that that's Asia. And none of them are going to talk like this because 3/4 to 90% of them are Masons. They have fezzes just like this, but they do their stuff in secret chambers in the basement of somewhere or some building that, you'll never see them go into with a fez. Because if you knew that all your black leaders had fezzes and that they were Masons, Prince Hall, whatever they want to call it, right? If our people recognize that, they would realize that all those people are sellouts. And they would leave all their little organizations that those people founded. And then start looking within. Like Yahshua, Buddha, Muhammad, all these prophets told the people that God dwells inside. We're looking outside for stuff. Why is it such a theme for us to look outside of ourselves for our salvation when everything is within us? Everything that we want to manifest out here is within. And we never look within. We always look outside first. And then we look outside, get lost. And then that's why they don't want Moors around. That's why you're not going to, unless you're the Moor, more than likely, ain't no Moors around you. Like Moors who know that they're Moors. Half the people in here, right, have maybe thought about or seen or had experience with a brother that had a fez on or whatever like that, and but they weren't given the real, or you'd be more of it. Majority of people who are in leadership, their position is no different than like what a pastor is. Majority of people that look like us, their position is no different than a pastor. Get you join something. Instead of just giving you the dictionary, here's the dictionary. Go look it up for yourself. So we can know. Because, everybody wants to say, $10, 15, 20, 80, 300 for a CD. That's a law dictionary. I know, because people call me all the time with stuff like that. That they're paying $3,500 to be a Moor. $3,500. That they bumped into somebody who had a fez on. They said, yeah, come on down to the Moor Science Temple or whatever. And then they went there, sat with them, built a little bit or whatever. And then that individual was telling them $3,500. And then we'll give you the papers so you can be a Moor. And then, they won't touch you and all that stuff. When it's not even that serious. Because this is your bloodline. This is your stuff. They don't come all the way here to, a servant is worthy of his hire. So we got, DVDs, we got some books because, we prepared this stuff. But it's not, we don't want your arms and legs for that stuff like other people. This is your birthright. This is for you to claim if you want to. No different than you drop $100, somebody says, hey, you dropped 100. If you don't pick it up, then, hey, somebody else coming behind you to pick that up. And don't get mad at them when they take the 100 and they, take 50, go buy a weapon, whatever like that, and then the others buy artillery and they come take you out with it. Don't get mad at them, because that was your $100 that you should have picked up. This is your birthright that you should have claimed. But because we didn't claim it, Europeans claiming it. And he's using Moorish birthright to kill people in the street. Because they don't want to be Moor. They want to be black people. So take what you get. It's really that simple. Right? A thorough examination under the direction of Professor S.A. Jordan, the Smithsonian Institute is now prosecuting the most thorough explorations, which will be continued until the last link in the chain is forged. Nearly a mile underground, about 1,400 feet below the surface, the long main passage has been delved into to find another mammoth chamber from which radiates scores of passageways like the spokes of a wheel. Several hundred rooms have been discovered, reached by passageways running from the main passage, one of them having been explored for 854 feet and another 634 feet. The recent finds include articles which have never been known as native to this country, and doubtless that they had their origin in the Orient. War weapons, copper instruments, sharp edged and hard as steel, indicate the high state of civilization reached by these strange people. So interested have the scientists become that preparations are being made to equip the camp for extensive studies, and the force will be increased to 30 or 40 persons. All these caverns and great, discoveries or whatever that they're talking about in this article is from the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon right over there, the Grand Canyon has Egyptian, quote-unquote, Orient artifacts in them that you can't even go to some of those places in the Grand Canyon because immediately you bump into army telling you, oh, you can't go, it's dangerous, and cliffs and all that stuff, you can't go back there, it's dangerous. When they're really trying to stop you from recognizing that you've been over here. You never came here on a slave ship. You don't need Black History Month, Kwanzaa, all that crap like that. How come nobody's not questioning Karenga, who's CIA, FBI? Yeah, Kwanzaa, during the same time as Christmas. And nobody's not picking up that he's siding with the European? Oh, because we got red, we got candles and red candles, and we have all these principles in African terms, that means that it's African. Yeah, well, African comes from Scipio Africanus, a Roman. So if you back Kwanzaa, then you back Rome. It's the same energy. It's Christmas energy. Red, green, whatever like that. Christmas energy. Don't fall for that stuff about red, black, green, and that's what they're repping for Kwanzaa. That's not what they mean. Black represents the dumb public. Red and green represents Christmas time with blackface. So Christmas with blackface is Kwanzaa. And then everybody's going to back that as their new celebration for them to celebrate, because as Africans, we need to have our own. But why is it around Christmas time? We don't do nothing in the winter time. Which melanated individual is going to be vibrating on winter frequency to do something? It's not logical. But if they get us to be and think that we are Negro, black, colored people, then that dumbs us down where we don't think. And once you stop thinking, then anybody could put anything in your mind. And most of the time, if you're not thinking, whatever they put in your mind, you're going to accept that like yours and give it power. When it shouldn't have the power. These things should be eliminated from our mind frame immediately. Because it's destructive. It's not anything to benefit our people. Right? It's just like with this store here. They got this one store here, but they got 50 million churches around here. They got this one store here, but they got 50,000 liquor stores. Every corner, liquor store. You go to, what's the thing called, Circle K or whatever? Kmart, whatever it is. They got beer in the convenience store. We got beer in the convenience store where children go to. You think that's not influence children to be alcoholics when they grow up? When they go to the convenience store to go buy gum, and they got liquor. Any kind. Just as cheap as candy. Chips or whatever. Right? The hieroglyphics. This is the same stuff in the Grand Canyon. The hieroglyphics on all the urns or walls over doorways and tablets of stone which were found by the image are the mysterious hieroglyphics, the key to which the Smithsonian Institute hopes yet to discover. The engraving on the tables probably has something to do with the religion of the people. Similar hieroglyphics have been found in southern Arizona. Among the pictorial writings, only 2 animals were found. One is of prehistoric type. Right, so prehistoric animals means dinosaur. And remember, European wasn't in the planet them times, so there's only one people that were around when, there was dinosaurs walking the planet. And that's history that we might not even find out. That's really based on imaginative thinking. Because we can't even fathom a dinosaur right now. Flying, pterodactyl or whatever. That's not even something that we could, you ask some other people about dinosaurs, nah, that's, whatever. Even though they got bones and all that stuff, they got stuff showing people there were dinosaurs up. There had to be living people around those times too. That is dinosaurs just roaming the world and that's it. But then remember, dinosaurs are giants. And then we know that, you look at Shaquille O'Neal or whatever like that, he's short compared to our ancient people. Shaq and LeBron and all these people, they're short. 6'6" is short. 7 foot tall is short. They dug up some bones with skulls looking big like this. Skulls of humans. A skull, my height, wide like this. But they never put that stuff in the public. Because that's only one particular kind of people, dark-skinned people. And anything that the European can't connect themselves to, throw that stuff in the ocean. So nobody could find it. And like we were talking about in a few classes ago, then people are going to go do, you know, coral reef swimming and diving or whatever like that, find some city, find some figurines or whatever in the middle of the ocean. Then talking about, oh yeah, archaeologists come up and say, oh yeah, you know, we found the city and the whatever. That's not no city. That's stuff that they found on land that they dumped in the ocean in order to keep it out of the population of the people. Because when they do the carbon dating and all the scientific whatever to see if that's real or not, they're going to realize that that was around the time when there was no Europeans on the planet. Which brings up a whole new thing now. What do you mean there was no Europeans on the planet at one time? You mean at one time in the world there was no Europeans anywhere to be found? Only dark-skinned people. So all these myths get shattered by Moors. All these myths have to be given a new face in order for the people to go with it, right? So like, if we go to all these churches out here, all of them got some European on the wall. But then when we go to Mexico, they got brother on the wall. When you go to Peru, they got brother on the wall. When you go to Cambodia, they got brothers on the wall. When you go to whatever, all these people talking about, oh yeah, the prophet and Jesus and whatever, they got brother with locks and all that down there to the floor as the brother. But then you go to these Negro black colored people out here and they're trying to tell you that a European is God's son. The European is God's son? And he can't even live in the sun, but he's son of God? How are you son of God and you can't even live in the sun? Sun kills people. An Indian legend. In connection with this story, it is notable that among the Hopi Indians, the tradition is told that their ancestors once lived in an underworld in the Grand Canyon, till dissension arose between the good and the bad, the people of one heart and the people of two hearts. Machedo, who was their chief, counseled them to leave the underworld, but there was no way out. The chief then caused a tree to grow up and pierce the roof of the underworld, and then the people of one heart climbed out. They tarried by the Red River, which is in Colorado, and grew grain and corn. They sent out a message to the temple of the sun, asking the blessing of peace, goodwill, and rain for people of one heart. The messenger never returned, but today at the Hopi villages at sundown can be seen the old men of the tribe out on the housetops gazing toward the sun, looking for the messenger. When he returns, their lands and ancient dwelling place will be restored to them. This is the tradition. Among the engravings of animals in the cave is seen the image of a heart over the spot where it is located. The legend was learned by W.E. Rollins, the artist, during a year spent with the Hopi Indians. There are two theories of the origin of the Egyptians. One is that they came from Asia. Another is that the racial cradle was in the upper Nile region. An Egyptologist believed in the Indian origin of the Egyptians. The discoveries in the Grand Canyon may throw further light on human evolution and prehistoric ages. One would think that if giant humanoids were as proliferate as scripture indicates, there would be an abundance of fossil evidence to prove it. But the sad fact is, while there are mountains of documented evidence of unearthed humanoid skeletons of monumentous proportions, most of these findings are nowhere to be found. Why is this? The Smithsonian Institute easily the largest museum complex in the world, consisting of 19 museums, 9 research centers, and over 140 affiliate museums, has had long-standing problems in the cataloging and location of stored finds developed due to changing standards of administrations over the last 150 years. Instead of diffusing knowledge, as Mr. Smithson would have wished, this institution has become confused with the problems of sprawling storage. What's worse, the Smithsonian Institute has allegedly even deliberately undertaken the task of ensuring that what they found and continue to find fits in accordance with a version of history they have decided to try to prove ever since 1881. The cover-up and alleged suppression of archaeological evidence began in late 1881 when John Wesley Powell, the geologist famous for exploring the Grand Canyon, appointed Cyrus Thomas as the director of the Eastern Mound Division of the Smithsonian Institute Bureau of Ethnology. The Smithsonian began to promote the idea that Native Americans, at that time being exterminated in the Indian Wars, were descendants from advanced civilizations and were worthy of respect and protection. They also began a program of suppressing any archaeological evidence that lent credence to the school of thought known as diffusionism, a school which believes that throughout history there can be widespread dispersion of culture and civilization being contacted by ship and major routes. The Smithsonian opted for the opposite school, known as isolationism. Isolationism holds that most civilizations are isolated from each other, and that there has been very little contact between them, especially those that are separated by bodies of water. In this intellectual war that started in the 1880s, it was held that even contact between civilizations of the Ohio and Mississippi valleys were rare, and certainly these civilizations did not have any contact with such advanced cultures as the Mayans, Toltecs, or Aztecs in Mexico and Central America. By old world standards, this is an extreme and even ridiculous idea, considering that the river system reached to the Gulf of Mexico and these civilizations were not close to the opposite shore of the Gulf. It was like saying that cultures in the Black Sea area could not have had contact with the Mediterranean. When the contents of many ancient mounds and pyramids of the Midwest were examined, it was shown that the history of the Mississippi River valleys was that of an ancient and sophisticated culture that had been in contact with Europe and other areas. Not only that, the contents of many mounds revealed burials of huge men, sometimes 7 or 8 feet tall, in full armor with swords and sometimes huge treasures. The ending scene of the movie, Raiders of the Lost Ark, shows the Ark of the Covenant being boxed up and stashed away in a warehouse that makes the Houston Astrodome look like a shoebox in comparison. This is actually not far from the truth. There really are enormous warehouses full of fossils and amazing artifacts that could redefine history as we know it, demanding our history books to be rewritten, but they are even more lost in these warehouses than they were when they were buried in earth. Right? So it's a documented fact that we've been in this land, and if we were to take a better look at how easy it's been for them to fool us, to think that we came over here on some ships, some Europeans, right? We would immediately call ourselves stupid and go study something. Because when we check now, let's check some some things, real minor, that destroys the fact that we came over here on a slave ship, right? There's no way that a minority of Europeans is gonna overpower 60 million, 100 million, how much ever of us that they say they brought over here, that we're just gonna line up to go on this ship to get taken somewhere. We just line up. Nobody never fought anything. Everybody just went with it, right? During the time of slavery, like we were talking about earlier, the Moors were in Europe civilizing the European. How's the Moors civilizing the European in Europe at the same time that they're bringing people over here on a slave ship? If they're illiterate, if they bathe once a year. This is their history. This is all the stuff that's happening with them. They're claiming that the Moors civilized them, right? But at that same time of them being civilized, they thought the world was flat. They never seen a map ever in their life or whatever like that. They're sailing thousands of miles across the ocean to take people to somewhere else that they never been to. Remember, they never been over here. They heard about over here and said, oh, let's take some black people over there and get them to develop the land over there. That's a fiction. You really fall for that? You really fall for them games there? That, me included, because I was a black guy one time, you know what I mean, celebrating Black History Month or whatever like that. Nobody never questioned, how come there's no Jewish History Month? Not even Jewish History Month. How come there's no White History Month? There's no Yellow History Month? No Brown History Month? Polka Dot History Month? Purple History Month? No other History Month but Black History Month. Only Black History Month? That's it?
But when they got to that point is because there was nothing else for people of color here. So I can remember going way back when they started the Black, was it J.G. Woods? I can't remember.
Right.
But going way back because we didn't. Then you see the pictures of the slave ships. You see all the history that's given there. So it's a propaganda.
Right.
Things are put there to make us think that there's nothing about us, that we came.
Right.
But then you go to Africa, Senegal, or where the point of no return.
Right.
But all of those things are there, but like you said, you have to search more.
Yeah, now even that, right? Point of no return. Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, whatever. All these places where they have these slave forts where they took people from. Those slave forts are in African countries, not European countries.
No, that's there. And they boarded them when they call it the point of no return. They put you on the ship. That's the way the story is told. And then they was no coming back.
Who's they?
Well, I guess the history books that are written, what we've been taught, what I've read myself and seen. But as far as my Africa, the heritage of the melanated people in the continent that's there, then when I went to the slave records that's in Bossier, and the man that is my great-great-grandfather, I saw his name in those records.
Right.
A lot of other things. So there's parts of history that's missing that the Europeans don't teach.
The real deal, though, is that the so-called Africans, kings, were the ones that owned those slave forts, not Europeans. There's no slave fort in a European country. So we can't say that European is the one that enslaved us.
And you give John, I can think of certain names of certain people that are there. And I've always wondered, because the history, and I've searched history and looking to see because I want to know the truth.
Right.
And you're given all these things, and you find books and you find other materials. But when you have your family that are older, and I had a chance to meet all of my great uncles and all of them.
Yeah.
None of them tell that story.
Right.
I didn't get to meet my great grandfather because he was brought from South Carolina to Benton. Yeah. But when I went to Benton to find out for other people, no one knew nothing.
Right.
So our history's we're lost.
Right. The Moors do a test, right? In research, right? By show of hands, people in here, right? In your research, how many people have found out through talking to your uncle, whatever, whoever in your family, right? How many people found out that they came from Africa? How many people found out that they got native family in their genes. Majority of people find out that they have native blood. Majority of people, they found out that they're native. Not that they came from somewhere on a slave ship. Not that, you know, it's like and it's things that shouldn't be talked about, because native history is oral history, not books. Right? So when you have grandma telling you, go outside, pick that thing or whatever, boil that for your cold, that's indigenous. That's not African culture. That's not something that they brought from over there, over here, when they came on a slave ship or whatever like that. That's stuff that they knew when they were here.
But they did teach, in my family on my mother's side, they taught the Indian part. And my grandmother told my sister when she was very young, when I went for the paper, there's nothing. But when I went up there to ask, it's something they didn't talk about or whatever.
And they're not talking about it because of the U.S. reconstruction of history that they teach about as, you know, when they're reformulating the government, blah, blah, blah. No. The reconstruction of history is when they wiped out everything, threw stuff in the ocean, stuff like that. Right?
When the files got burnt once.
Book burnings and all. That's the reconstruction of history. The reconstruction of history is getting us out of our mind as far as being on this side, and only connecting us that we came from over there. That's why you see that they try to do the thing with Liberia. Then they create African state, you know, so all the black people could go back to Africa or where they come from or whatever like that. But then when you go to Liberia, you find out that all those people there around Liberia are like, what are you guys doing over here? You're not from here. If you ask some of these people from the continent, Nigerians or whatever, whoever, you ask them. You talk to them personally, you ask them, yo, do I look like a tribe from over there? They'll tell you, no, you don't look like one. You don't look like you're from Africa. Your phenotype doesn't look like you're from over there. But again, it comes back to the thing of, you know, our history is oral. Our history is passed down from generation to generation. That's why it takes a village to raise a child amongst us. That's not European custom. That's our custom. That it takes a village to raise a child. Why? Because that child is going to get a little bit from you, and then from their mom, from their grandmother, then their aunt, then their uncle, and whoever else down the line, neighbor or whatever. You know? Older people will notice that when you, back in the day, you get in trouble, the whole community knew that you were in trouble before you got home.
Yes.
Whole community knew that you're going to get your ass bust when you go home.
Yes.
Because the word's been around that you just did whatever.
Yeah.
Community, right? Yes, bro.
Yeah, I'd like to ask questions.
And if anybody else has questions, you know, feel free to put them up.
I'm familiar with it, but at one time there was one landmass.
Right.
Before the split.
Right.
Okay, there's one landmass, there's one people through one blood can every nation.
Right.
Okay, so in other words, what you're saying is when the split came, the original indigenous people were still on the land. Like the
exactly.
northern part and the western part.
Exactly.
Like so you're saying that the elusive we'll put that.
Right, yeah. Right.
Do you think through your study and research through mine, I saw various exodus out of that land in various parts at various times.
Mm.
So regardless of where we at on the planet, we still one people.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's what
regardless of where we are on the planet, we're still native.
Yeah.
We're still indigenous and aboriginal.
Yeah.
Right? So if you go to I think it's in Nigeria, they have native courts in Nigeria that only Nigerians go to if they got issues. The native court, not the regular court that everybody goes to for whatever. They have specific courts for natives of Nigeria, because the term or the theme of Aboriginal and indigenous people is something that only deals with us, because we're the Aboriginal natives everywhere. But as soon as they get us saying we're African, black, whatever, then we lose that native status. Once you lose your native status, then obviously you're not from this land. And if you're not from this land, then you better go back where you came from. And if you don't want to leave, then we'll take you out of here. Because, you know, if you're not going to be who you are, then obviously you're not native. And it's something that has been, it's been forced on the people to get rid of their native status. Like one incident that we had, we went to the store that was run by his Hindustanis, you know, like Sri Lankans or whatever, right? And they were putting the stuff in the register. Now, as Moors, we don't pay tax, right? We always say we're tax exempt, you know, non-obligated to tax or whatever like that. So, presented it to them. They were like, nah, I don't think you're really the native or whatever. Like, yo, what do you mean? Like, we're the native. So we started talking to them about their history over there that, you know, they didn't expect us to know. And then slowly they started, so you mean, really, you're really the native? I'm like, yeah. I don't look like the guys that they tell you are the native, right? He's like, nah, they don't show you as the native, right? And then we kept going, kept talking, till eventually the brother said, here's the stuff for free, because you're native. He's from, no, just to verify, just to put it on the, he's from Hindustan, India or whatever. And he knows that the people on this side, the people in this land are the real natives. The brother was ready to give us the stuff for free, just because, right? Just because he knew a little bit more knowledge, because he was talking to people who was on that level with him from a knowledge perspective. He knew that we were Negro black colored people, because we were talking about Hindustan, not India. We were talking about Ceylon, not Sri Lanka. We were talking about the indigenous names of where he lives in his country, that we're not supposed to know, because, you know, we're black guys that came over here on slave ship. We're slaves. We don't know any of that knowledge. And every time we bring stuff like that up to those people, they always go, yo, how do you know that? How do you know about Hindustan? How do you know about the Vedas texts? How do you know about Hanuman and all these, you know, things that come from across the Atlantic Ocean? Like, yo, because I study. I'm not black. Like, oh, thought you were a black guy or whatever. You know? Because in Toronto, it's multicultural there. It's not just black and white there. There's all nations of people there. And all nations of people in Toronto, when we go up and we have fezzes on or whatever like that, they're coming to take pictures. They don't even speak English. They'll just stop you on the street, take a picture, and then they go about their business. There's a African fest run by Europeans called Afrofest in Toronto, right? We used to go vend at that event, and, you know, as black guys, you know, we would have our tables set up, whatever, you know, we got African stuff and all that, whatever, you know. Yeah, our people come, but no international people. Soon as we start getting on more science and we start doing this cultural event, now you have all these people from other nations coming up just to ask, are you guys Moors? Yeah, we're Moors. Oh, and everybody wants to stand there and talk for 5 hours about stuff that they know about Moors, right? History that they have, their history that they have about Moors, that nobody else has, right? And once we, give thanks, bro. And once we show that we have knowledge of our culture, that opens up international relations with people, because they recognize that we know our culture. I'm sure, like, even with sis with turbans, they start going some of these stores around here with their turban on. They're dealt with totally different than girl coming there with weaves or whatever. Totally different. Like night and day different. And people would think that, you know, we're just some black Muslim guys, you know what I mean? Because they think, you know, we're relative. Like I tell people all the time, don't compare what, if I do something that a black guy does, it's not the same. If I have a license and a black guy has a license, trust me, with the license, I'm still beating my tickets. I'm not paying these guys. With the license, I'm still not getting pulled out the car, getting my ass kicked. With the license. Right? Because we understand that there's a certain degree of knowledge that our people are supposed to have. When you have that certain degree of knowledge, you exude that as a frequency, as an energy that other people, because don't forget, when we talk about Chinese, Filipino, Hindustani, Sri Lankan, whoever, all those people know about yoga, energy, chakras, and all that. That's already info that they know from this big. So they see Moors coming through walls, they know something's coming around the corner, let me brace myself. They already know what's up. It's not a secret to them. The only people that are cloudy vision, glasses dirty, they can't see where they're going, Negro black colored people. Only people. That's the only people. And once we continue living up to that hype of black people, black this, African, whatever, and that's how we identify ourselves, and we don't connect ourselves to Moors, we lose. Guarantee they're going to come take your house. They're going to come take your bike, car. Whatever you got, they're going to take it. If they don't get it that way, they're going to send their boys, the IRS, to come get it through finance. If they don't get it that way, they wait till you die and give it, then the church will take it. Regardless, they're getting it. And we have to get to the position where we trust this level of information. A lot of people don't trust this level of information. Like, we show people receipts all day that we get taxes on. Hey, you pay tax? Yeah. Why are you paying tax? You're indigenous. Well, you know, okay, well, here's a receipt right here to show you that we don't pay tax. Well, matter of fact. No. Actually, I might have one. Might have one. Here we go. Pass this one around. Right? Not a big purchase, small, right? Whatever you pay, whatever the ticket price, that's the price. There's no tax added on. Why? Because we're Aboriginal and Indigenous people. We don't have an obligation to pay these people taxes, especially if they're a foreigner. Because when you check out, go read George Washington's letter to the Sultan of Morocco. And George Washington telling the Sultan, sorry that we didn't pay the taxes. We know we're supposed to pay the taxes, but we missed our tax payments or whatever like that. Why? Because he's a European. They're the only ones that are supposed to be paying taxes here. And not only just paying taxes, they're supposed to be paying us taxes. Every store that we go to that's a European run, when we buy stuff, they should be giving us change when we buy stuff. The tax should be what they pay us. When they say 8%, 5%, whatever, they should punch that in the register and go in the register and give you that. If they're not putting it on the price of whatever you're buying. that finance is supposed to go directly to the indigenous people. All these it's like when we know who we are, when we acknowledge who we are, then people acknowledge us. If we don't acknowledge who we are, then they're not acknowledging anything. Because they're occupying here. They're in land that's not theirs. This is not Europe. This is America. How does a European have jurisdiction in this land to set up a DMV? He set up a DMV, right? Department of Motor Vehicles here. But he never did that in China. He never did that anywhere else. Only America he did that. He didn't even do that in Brazil or whatever. Only above Mexico. Nowhere else in the world is a European gonna go to somebody's car, put something on the window or boot it, and that individual is gonna go to some office that a European made up and go pay to go get a boot taken off their car. Nowhere else in the world. Only in North America that happens. Nowhere else in the world is a European saying that we have a organization, whatever, that handles taxes. So we might occasionally send you a letter, you know, and ask you to submit your W-87 whatever, because we need to verify that, you know, you paid your taxes. They don't do that anywhere else in the world. Only here. Why? Because these crazy people over here think they came here on a slave ship. So they think this is not their land. And if you think this is not your land, then somebody's going to claim it as theirs.
Do you have a list of the treaties?
If you you can write down Avalon Project. There's a website called the Avalon Project. AVALON Project. And you'll get all the treaties. Any treaty that you want, you'll get off that. Right down this man, Matthew da Costa. This is the individual that founded or first discovered so-called Canada. And he's known as a Mandingo Moor. And then you see that he has the feather in the hat, which is Aboriginal culture. Right? That's all the Moor haters that you know, they got YouTube videos, you know, dissing the Moors. The Moors stole fezzes from Turkey and from pale Arabs or whatever. Okay, this is a Turk. This is how a Turk looks. So you see these pale Arabs around here that they got convenience stores and all that type of stuff, and they're saying about they're Arabs. They're not no Arabs. This is an Arab that they never tell you about. Because if you know that you're the Arab, then those people there, they're out of it. Right? Here's an article for all the people who love and honor Red, Black, Green, Marcus Garvey and all that, so that they can know, you can know, that Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali had relations. They knew each other. And if you're going to honor Marcus Garvey and not honor Noble Drew Ali, you're a hypocrite. And you need to take off that red, black, green stuff and stop fronting. Noble Drew Ali returns after a long visit south. And this is from Chicago Defender, November 19th, 1927. Noble Drew Ali, prophet, founder, and head of the Moorish National Divine Movement, has returned to the city after an extended visit in the south. Prophet Ali motored from Chicago to Atlanta, Georgia, where he spent a few hours visiting Marcus Garvey in the federal prison. Mr. Garvey was very much pleased with the splendid, uplifting work being done by the Moorish Divine Movement. The organization has launched a drive for more members. Persons desirous of learning of the great work that is being done are asked to write the prophet at Chicago, Illinois, etc. So it's not a secret. It's only a secret to people who don't and haven't studied. Right? C1-7, Al Sharpton FBI stuff. That he's an agent. The European wrote a book about this guy's an agent for the CIA. But as soon as somebody gets shot or whatever, who's coming to come talk on behalf of these people? The CIA agent guy. Right? He's coming to talk on behalf of the people. And they're letting him. And he's a CIA agent. You don't think people in the world are looking at these people as stupid people? Right? Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old youth man got shot or whatever, right? How come his mom is going to get the same lawyer who Garner had and who Brown had? After they never got no indictments. She's going to still go get that lawyer? That guy got paid and didn't do his job, and she's going to hire him still. You think the world's not looking at these people as stupid? You guys are stupid. So we'll continue to shoot you in the street or whatever because you obviously don't get it and don't want to get it. Right? Refuse to get it. Refuse. Openly refuse. But that's their business if they don't want to get it. Right? Bill of Particulars. A bill of particulars is a writ of discovery or a written document that you submit to whoever is claiming some type of authority over you to question them on where they get their authority from. Right? So this bill of particulars is with regard to black history. Right? So a bill of particulars. So for example, if you have, let's say, IRS sends you something, right? IRS sends you something saying you need to pay taxes tomorrow or we're going to take your stuff, right? You're going to write a reply to them. Obviously, you better have a nationality because they don't listen to black people, right? So you better be more. You're going to question them on where they get their authority from. How do they get the authority to collect taxes? So you'll make a statement, I am Moore, whatever LB is the name, right? I am not this all capital letters name that you addressed in this letter. Before I pay these taxes that you claim that I owe, you need to answer some questions for me to make sure that I'm paying the right people, right? So you ask them, when was the IRS founded? Who founded it? Is it part of the government? Whatever. Then you make statements like, Section 8 of the Constitution says the Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes. Constitution says that. Now you ask the IRS, are they Congress? Because if Constitution is the supreme law of the land, then that's what we should be following. That's what they should be following. So the Bill of Particulars is to question them on their authority. So for black history, right, these are some of the questions that we present to the so-called black whatever people that, that's where they're going as far as their identity, right? Bill of Particulars. Who and what is Black America? What is the nationality of a Black American? Are people identified by colors? What is the national flag of Black Americans? What constitution secures and protects the inalienable rights of Black Americans? What is the divine title of the black government? What are the descent names of their forefathers? What land is associated with their descent names? What is the free national name and religion they claim? Cause of action. This brief presents a timely demand for more definite statements concerning the nature and cause and intent of those who reference themselves and other natural persons as African Americans. Then they switch up and teach black history. Who are they talking about? This has been a particularly interesting practice of modern scholars and historians. We have examined and read many books, articles, and historical documents, etc., and have come to the clear understanding and conclusion that the political interests and concepts of the people are compromised, confusing, misleading regarding constitutional principles of a de jure government. First, there exists no nation of black Americans, nor is there a black America in any documented record the world over. Black Americans are what is referred to in law as a misnomer, or collectively misnomers. As you well know, grammatically, black is an adjective and is not a proper noun. Socially and politically, black implies civiliter mortuus, which means dead in the eyes of the law. Black American is not a nationality, nor is it a nation. Therefore, black has no political interests nor powers in the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. So they're talking about free beings and enslaved beings. They're talking about natural persons and artificial persons. All indigenous people are natural persons, because from a law perspective, there's two persons. There's corporate persons or artificial persons, and then there's natural persons. Anybody in here have licenses or whatever like that? If you got a license, pull out your license. Or whatever card that they give you that's supposed to be identity, or your identity. When you look on that card, you're going to realize that there's a picture on it that identifies you. And then there's also a signature on it that you put on it. But the name on it is written in all capital letters, which is a grammatical error. Because we learned grade 3, we capitalize our name. First letter capital, everything else small letters. Right? Now, in the license, that instrument that they call a license comes out of slavery. Because in order for me, the slave master, to get you, the slave, to go deliver these books or bricks or whatever like that to that other slave master over there, I'm going to give you a license. This is what they were explaining in 12 Years a Slave, when the brother was walking through the woods or whatever, and those two guys were about to get lynched. And then they stopped him and they said, yo, you got whatever to show that you're, put you on the tree? And then he had something around his neck or some papers he gave the guy, and the guy's like, okay, you know what I mean? So get out of here now. You got stuff to take care of, and you're not included. That was his license. So once you have that instrument, you're identifying yourself as a quote-unquote artificial person. That's why no matter what our people do, the first thing they ask for all the time is, do you have a license? First question. You got a license to prove it or whatever? You go to buy something, you got a license. You go to sign up for something, you have a license, so we could write down the license number, make sure that we're identifying the real person from whatever. When that's BS. If you identify yourself as all capital letters name, you're pretty much saying that you're an artificial person. If you're artificial, then law doesn't apply to you. That's why majority of brothers who have a license, most of the time, they don't got insurance, stuff like that. They just, hope not to get stopped. Because they realize that, every time they get stopped, they got issues with these people. A European gets stopped, he get ticket, go about his business. Chinaman gets stopped, get ticket, maybe not get a ticket, go about his business. Every time Asiatic gets stopped, you got 30 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever, talking to these people. Go back to their car, you know what I mean? Go on the radio, we need to check, make sure this and that or whatever like that, when it's not supposed to be that serious. Because if you're dark skinned, if you are native, if you're Aboriginal, indigenous to the land, they know that you don't need a license to drive. It's a fact that you don't need a license to drive. But because we applied for it, right, that means we were seeking permission. That's why when you got that, you give the CD with the law dictionary, you're going to go look up apply, you're going to look up all these terms that we think are just common terms, but they're actually law terms that have a totally different meaning than the meaning that we think that it means. And as soon as we start realizing that we've been played for 30, 40 years by this European who doesn't have any jurisdiction here, one, he's from Europe and he can't have jurisdiction here, one. Two, we're the ones that get ourselves in whatever it is we get ourselves into. It's not him. It's because we don't have a status. So they take the position of having a status and they exercise according to how we present ourselves to them. And that's how they get away with everything. They get away with everything against us because we're artificial people. First thing, guarantee you, soon as they shot Michael Brown, guarantee you they went in his pocket, pulled out a license. That's the only way that they can go around the news, classify him as a black man. Because there had to be a box to check that off in order to get this document called a license. And once you check that off, you're admitting, because don't forget you signed and your picture's there. You're admitting that you're down with being an artificial person. And it's nothing personal. It's we don't know and somebody else knows. And because they know, they're gaming us on what we don't know. No different than if for example, that thing on the wall with the sun on there, right? They say, oh yeah, astrological, cosmological, that's to do with the zodiac, whatever else. That's a clock that everybody has in their house, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever going around, right? Broken in 4 quadrants, right? And everybody has that in their house. Everybody has that on their wrist, that they're going to look at it every day. But they'll disconnect from astrology. Like completely disconnect from astrology. Don't even know what Taurus is, Sagittarius, Cancer. What's the relationship between Cancer and Sagittarius? Cancer and Taurus, Cancer and Gemini, Taurus and Gemini. Don't even think that it's anything relative to them, but they got a watch on every day that they look at. And they think that, oh yeah, this has to do with time, but they don't think that it has to do with astrology. Just like we think license has to do with driving. License doesn't have anything to do with driving. License has to do with being in business. And in order to be in business and sell goods on the highway, you need a license. When they talk about seatbelt is the law, you need to wear a seatbelt. How come children's school buses don't have seatbelts? How come motorbikes don't have seatbelts? How come those people not getting tickets for not wearing a seatbelt? And then these things aren't even brought up in the minds of the people, so they lose. How come the people who wear turbans as their culture don't have to wear a helmet when they ride a bike? How come there's no helmet big enough to go over a turban so that people who wear turbans can be safe on the street when they ride a bike or whatever like that? So, you know, they protect themselves or whatever like that. And how come they don't get tickets for not wearing a helmet? But you walk down the street, Negro, black, colored, spit, and you get 30 days. You do anything. You have a broken tail light. They'll take you out of the car, kick your ass for a broken tail light. And then you have Europeans here with, you know, busted big crack on their windshield or whatever. They drive forever with that. And nobody stopped them, asked them no questions. How come? Because nations look after each other. European, we use this example. When we used to go clubbing and stuff like that, we go clubbing, and every time two black guys fight, both those guys get kicked out the club or whatever, right? They might get arrested, whatever like that. Two Europeans fight, they're not getting kicked out of no club. Two Europeans fight, they're not getting arrested. They have black eye, busted lip or whatever, broken ribs, talking about, oh yeah, this is my brother, my cousin, you know, we just had misunderstanding, you know what I mean? And officers gonna go with that story. When these guys belong to rival gangs or whatever, no different than, you know, us, but they don't get anything. Why? Because that European so-called officer, which he's not an officer, so stop calling him that. As soon as you call them officer, you give them authority, because they are hired help. And if they're hired, then they're not an officer. And if they're not an officer, and you call them an officer, and they exercise official jurisdiction over the people, it's because the people call them officer. Because they are hired. They went and filled out a job application to be a police. And as soon as we start playing the game that they have authority, we start playing the game that they have jurisdiction, they are going to assume anything that we mistake for reality. Again, just to further show how much these guys are a fraud. Everybody knows about Franklin D. Roosevelt and the New Deal and the bankruptcy in 1933. Right? If they're bankrupt, how are they still around in 2014 talking about having jurisdiction over people? When they're bankrupt. You find me one bankrupt corporation out there that's still in business after they go bankrupt. That people are going to go there knowing that they went bankrupt. Oh yeah, we're still going to go support this store when they just said they filed for Chapter 11 or whatever. Nobody's not supporting them if they say that they're bankrupt. So how come we're supporting this pseudo fake so-called government that's saying they have some type of authority? People want to go to the president. People want to get people indicted on charges, or they're going to go to the court to get charges, when that's not even a court. That's an administrative building. As soon as you go in the door, they have a big plaque on the wall saying administrative building. They don't have a thing saying courthouse. When you go on the hours of operation, it doesn't say courthouse hours. It says business hours on the court building. Letting you know that all they're about is business. Letting you know that all they're about is you put down money when you go in there. And the judge is going to make you put down money. And if you don't put down money, you're going to get 30 days or something. When he doesn't even have authority to go that far. Because just like the officer, he's not a judge. Gaming people. That's a guy who, 2 stores down, he has a store. Then on weekends, he puts on a black robe, goes into court and rapes people. And then Monday, take off his black robe or whatever, go back to his store, do his business. And playing people because they don't know. Department of Motor Vehicles. Find me Department of Motor Vehicles in the Constitution. If the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, And everybody knows what supreme means. So if the supreme law of the land is the Constitution, and Department of Motor Vehicles isn't in there, nobody should have licenses around here. Because all these so-called government people, they take an oath to enforce and uphold the Constitution. Barack went on TV. Did it. I pledge allegiance to the flag and all that type of stuff. Enforce the Constitution, uphold the Constitution. But then he's not doing anything constitutional. And then people are running to him talking about, yeah, you know, we need you to do something about these shootings or whatever. And he's like, I got stuff to do. I'm busy. And then they say, oh yeah, he's an agent, he works for whatever. He's not. He's a president of a private corporation called U.S. Democracy. That has absolutely nothing to do with the United States of America government. Just like Canada is a private corporation. Has nothing to do with a government. That's some Europeans that went there and started up some stuff, and everybody went with the stuff that they started as legitimate. Right? And we refuse to get the point. Why? Because majority of our own who have this information that are Masons in secret, they're not telling. And then we get stuck having to deal with this madness. People getting choked out on the corner, people going out marching, picketing, lying in the street having die-ins, stopping highway from people who didn't do nothing to them. How come they don't go shoot up some police stations or something like that? How come they don't go after the individuals who harmed them? Negro, black, colored people always go after innocent people. Always. They never go after the guilty party. And then you have idiots. They always put a camera on an idiot when they have to do an interview on the news. They never get an intelligent guy. They always find some idiot in the crowd and they ask him questions. You had one of these guys talking about, oh yeah, well, you know, the riots are legit because we got to let them know, you know what I mean, that we mean business. Then you burn down people's stuff that never did nothing to you. That's hypocrisy. You're not going to be respected for that by the international community. That's why the UN said, we're not messing with you guys with your black whatever. We don't want to hear the argument about bring somebody to court because the international court, the black guy shot a black guy. They don't want to hear it. The UN, highest body of international people, said, we don't want to hear it. But they're not going to listen to that. They still call themselves black after no indictment, after nobody go to jail, nobody get the firing squad for murdering somebody in the street. But they're still going to call themselves black people and play this game. Play this, I don't have to proclaim my nationality, you know, we don't need nationalities, you know, it doesn't matter what you call yourself. If it doesn't matter what you call yourself, Chinese will call themselves yellow. If it doesn't matter what you call yourself, all these so-called people from India, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, they call themselves brown people. But they don't, right? We brought up the point that during these whole shooting, indictment of whatever, all that stuff, international people are coming out and saying, we support you guys. We are in solidarity with these killings that's going on, that it's unjust or whatever. But none of them came from the perspective of they're a color supporting some colored people. All of them said, we're from Tokyo, we support the whatever. We're from New Delhi, we support whatever. We're from Brazil, we support the whatever. We're from some country that identifies people as nationals, not as colors. And then all our people over their head. But well, yeah, you don't see all those people, they support black stuff. They don't support black stuff. They're trying to school the black guys to let them know, hey, you know, proclaim your nationality and we'll support you. And there isn't like King Alfred Plan was saying, no political asylum is available to these minorities in other countries. Why? Because you didn't come from nowhere else. You don't need any political anything from another country. How about just honor your own stuff? Right? How about when Hillary Clinton recently had a speech, and she was sitting in a room with the Moroccan flag in the room, and thing went past everybody, right? How come she's in a room talking about Egypt, relations with Egypt and United States, but she's sitting in a room with a Moroccan flag behind her in America? The same flag that the Moors say is the flag of the Moors, she's sitting in a room with the Moroccan flag with her, backing her. Why? So when the international community sees this, the international community would think that, hey, they must be legitimate because they're using the actual flag of that government. The United States of America government is really Moroccan. That's why Barack Obama came out, went to Egypt, did a big speech or whatever, talking about, yeah, you know, the Moroccans were the ones that recognized the United States and all that. And everybody applauding. And then Hillary Clinton comes out. And then she's talking about, oh yeah, you know, Egypt and the relationships in Egypt with bombings, and you know, we can't be bombing and stuff like that because, you know, we're relations with whatever, but she's sitting in front of a Moroccan flag in America. And you think Moors are just flapping at the gums or whatever? When the so-called Secretary of State, who's the official, right, is letting people know internationally who see this, that, yeah, we're the Moroccan government, you know what I mean? So you can forward all of your, you know, whatever to us. But when they talk, they say democracy. They don't say republic. Which Constitution says republic. Republican form of government. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which it stands. How come they keep saying democracy when their Pledge of Allegiance says republic? Even today, 2014. And nobody, over the people. And they back democracy. Yeah, we have democratic rights. You can't kick people's ass or whatever like that. That's what democracy is. Democracy is mob rule. Democracy is not the people's stuff that, you know, they've been trained, you know, brainwashed to think that, oh yeah, when they say democracy, they mean government by the people. That's not what democracy is. It's far from that. Democracy is kill you in the street, whether we choke you out, shoot you, say that you had a real gun when it was a wallet, say that you had a real gun when it was a phone, whatever, kill you in the street. And then, you know, as Moors, we look at it like, you know, half those people, if they were home studying, they wouldn't be shot up in the street. It's harsh reality, but, you know, truth's supposed to hurt so you could learn. If truth doesn't hurt, it's probably not truth. Somebody's probably lying to you. Because truth's supposed to hurt. You're supposed to be slumped over like, oh, that guy just hit me with some truth. And after you get that, you're supposed to change something. You're not supposed to get truth and then still be nigger after you get truth that you're not nigger. And if you choose to say that, yes, forget that truth, I'm going to do the, then keep getting shot up or whatever, because like we're, you know, we have, our position is warp speed wake up our people. Warp speed. This is not no slow walk to wake up our people. We're supremely behind everybody else. Because I'm pretty sure, even around here, right? If you check everybody else that comes here from somewhere else, they've made more progress in less time than we've been here. Should have made some progress. Something. We have zero to show. All we got to show is ghettos, hoods, whatever like that. Churches. We don't even have a convenience store in our communities. Who else come here? Koreans come here, they start nail store, hair store, whatever, start making billions off us. Billions. Don't hear what I'm saying. Just go check. They have all that stuff documented statistically, so black people could know what they spend money on. And when you go check, everything we spend on churches is $1 billion a year, hair $1 billion a year, food that's not going to do nothing for us $1 billion a year, schools zero, education zero, something to do with us knowing ourselves, our culture, or whatever, zero. We're not spending nothing on that. But all the things that are destructive to us, oh, we got money every day, all day. All stores like this shouldn't have so much books on the wall. They should be sold out of books every week. They should be sold out of stuff. They should be telling people, sorry, we have to close because we don't have no books right now. We have to wait for the stock to come back because these herb stuff should be empty. But, you know, this is all we got. That's thinking correctly. That, you know, their wires in their mind are actually, you know, connecting to stuff. Not just loose wires, just nowhere. So we want people to understand that this is not some, you know, came all the way from wherever just to stand up here and flap my gums and then you go home and there's nothing that happens, right? This is for you to be inspired. That guy came from all the way or whatever to come tell you about some stuff that you might not have heard about, or you're kind of sketchy, or you know what I mean, whatever, so that you could take this serious. Like, damn, he actually came all the way from Canada or whatever. How many people came over here from wherever to come teach us about our culture? Because don't expect Buddhists and whoever else do it, because, you know, they don't care. They can go back home if they want to. This is not their land. They don't have any obligation to stay here. And that's why they leave. They get their little visa, they leave, come back when they want, whatever. Well, one of us try to get some passport or whatever like that. Can't even get no passport because you got a ticket. So you can't leave the country because you got a ticket, you can't leave the country. Then they have Nazis coming here who killed Jews or whatever. They could easily come here, walk off the plane or whatever, start a business, you know. Speaking about Nazis, yesterday I was at when I was at the airport yesterday, there was a brother in the military, and you know, he had on his, you know what I mean, shiny shoes or whatever, you know what I mean, like, you know, doing the walk, like, you know. And I was like, you know what Iron Cross is? No. Okay, just checking. Iron Cross is Nazi Germany. This guy's in the military, and he has an Iron Cross on his stuff. An Iron Cross in America. And he's a brother. And you're also going to do your research on black, what's it called again? Hitler's black victims. To find out that what they show on TV, that's not all the Jews that they killed and whatever. There was actually some brothers and sisters up in that look like Europeans.
To verify what you said, they had a book on that.
Right.
The Black Holocaust.
Yeah.
And they banned it from coming into America.
Exactly. Right? Because everybody in the world knows that Moors are Muslims and Jews. Well, other stuff too, but mainly Moors are Muslim and Jews. And that during the Third Reich, during Nazi Germany, there was dark-skinned people that were victim to that stuff going down. Which lets you know that some of those Europeans were people who, you know, they took one for the team in order to bury us. Right? They took one for the team in order to bury us, who were also in that stuff. That's what Hitler was really fighting. On top of the fact that people calling themselves, because, you know, woe unto those who call themselves Jews that are not. Right? The real Jews are us. So he was fighting that. But at the same time, those individuals that got swept up in this thing, you know, that's secret information. Just like Operation Paperclip. It's secret information. That NASA is the Nazi scientists from Germany. That they secretly got out of Germany, brought them here, and founded NASA. That they don't talk about. Well, you can just Google stuff. Operation Paperclip. You get pages and pages and pages about this unification between the U.S. and Germany, Nazi Germany specifically. And then you realize that, you know, the United States funded Hitler stuff, that they sent Hitler oil and gas or whatever like that for all those tanks that they got over there, right? When you, what's the name of it? Tyson something, elevator company people. Elevator company people were the people who were making tanks in Germany. The elevator people that we ride up and down elevators in buildings or whatever. The people who fix those are a company from Germany that used to make tanks and stuff for Nazi Germany. What are they doing in America? Still around. When you have people talking about, yeah, international war crimes, we need to get all the Nazis, and then they're bringing 90-year-old people or whatever to come to court for some Jews that they killed. And then they get off because they're 90. Like, what are we gonna arrest this guy for? He's 90. How come 60 years ago they didn't find him? All of a sudden they find this Nazi war criminal and he's 90, trying to put charges on him. And again, gets off. But this guy who gets murdered in the street, the person who did that, they can't even bring up charges on him. Because it was a stateless person that he killed. It was an artificial person that he killed. Yeah, it sucks. You know, the reality sucks. But that's the reality. That all those guys, you name them, bring up. Amadou Diallo, bet he had a license. Sean Bell, bet he had a license. Michael Brown, bet he had a license. Rodney King, bet he had a license. You name them. Bet all of them had licenses, and I bet all of them checked off black. And once you check off black, you're admitting that you're an artificial person. Because in the law of contracts, you can alter the contract. So, for example, I work for the school board, right? I didn't check off black. I checked off other. And I put Indigenous Aboriginal on there. And I went to the interview, and the 2 Europeans who interviewed me, they asked the question, how come you didn't check off black? Like, you know, it's a common thing to just check black off amongst our people. How come you didn't check black? Like, well, you know, I'm brown. You guys didn't have brown on the thing, so I checked other. And then they looked at each other and they were like, start Monday. Interview was 2 minutes. 2-minute interview to work at the school board. Not everybody say, oh, you need a degree and you make sure you have this, and make sure your stuff is tight before you're gonna. No, nationality is the order of the day. everybody knows, except our people. So we want to open up for questions. If people have them, please send your questions up and we'll...
I have a question on when you were talking about Kwanzaa.
Yeah.
Okay, and the colors.
Yeah.
And you kind of related them to Christmas.
Right.
But when we teach Kwanzaa, we don't relate it to Christmas
at
all because they have different meaning, like the red that you're wearing.
Right.
It has a meaning. And the candles and everything has to do with family and the community.
Right.
So this is what we teach our children related to that, not the Christmas colors at all. So could you kind of talk about that a little bit?
The reason for bringing that up is, why isn't Kwanzaa in the spring? Why isn't Kwanzaa in autumn? Why isn't Kwanzaa during a time of the year that is harmonious with the frequency that we vibrate on? We vibrate on summer frequency as a people. We don't vibrate on winter. So
but if you look at the big picture behind it and the reason for it, it's something that it's a way for us to teach our children those laws that they need, those 7 principles. And I do believe that those seven.
That's why there's Noble Juali.
Yeah, those 7 principles.
We don't need Kwanzaa for that.
Huh?
We don't need Kwanzaa for that.
Oh.
Noble Juali came and brought the 7 principles. They are right here.
I'm familiar with that. That is why I can associate that with the laws of Kwanzaa, because it has to do with family. Right,
but see, if the people, okay, the founder of Kwanzaa is Karenga.
Dr. Malana Karenga.
Yeah, you know he's an FBI agent, just like Al Sharpton.
He what?
He's an FBI, CIA agent, just like Al Sharpton.
So,
should we follow an FBI, CIA agent?
We're not following him. We're following what came out of him after his prison experience.
Okay, so,
just like Malcolm X. You know,
we
follow.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so we honor Malcolm X.
We don't honor Malcolm X. We follow the things that came out of his experiences.
Okay.
And the same way with Dr. Malana Karenga, he was trying to devise a celebration for our children so that they could have a better way of handling their conflicts. That's the whole basis
why
for all of this.
Why don't they just proclaim their nationality?
Handling their conflicts.
Why don't they just proclaim their nationality and eliminate the conflicts altogether?
It is when he tells you to create for yourself, name yourself, and all of this. Those are good. Don't you think that those are great laws for our children?
Not coming from a CIA, FBI agent.
So you think we should just negate that simply because it came from somebody who made errors in their prior life?
Because this is 1913. Karenga's 1960 something.
Mm-hmm.
If this is 1913, talking about the same things that Karenga's talking about,
read that.
Then why don't we just go with this?
Well, why don't you just go? It doesn't matter.
If it's
still something to help our children. You don't hold anybody's past against them and what their experiences are some good things that come out of.
We're not talking about his past.
Well, you're saying that this is
during Kwanzaa, he was an FBI agent. I'm not taking away from the fact that there's good stuff in there. But that good stuff that's embodied in Kwanzaa, those principles.
That's what we teach.
Those principles, right?
And all of them are good.
Right, but those principles, the 7 principles of Kwanzaa.
Right. And I'm sure he probably went back to that too when he was creating that. I'm pretty sure he did.
But if he's not going to mention this,
I have that.
If he's not going to mention this, if he's gonna found Kwanzaa based on this, but not mention this, only talk about himself and that he brought this Kwanzaa thing.
He doesn't mention himself in his principles.
The principles stand. The principles are ancient.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, those are related to the 7 universal laws.
Okay.
That come before Kwanzaa.
Okay.
So why don't you just use the 7 universal laws? Mm-hmm. That's ancient stuff too. That's more ancient than the 7 Kwanzaa principles. You can't say that you know the people should slow walk themselves to death. Right? Because remember, Kwanzaa's going on, people still getting shot in the streets. So obviously Kwanzaa ain't teaching nobody nothing. If people are getting shot up in the street still. If people are still getting shot up in the street, choked out in the street, but we have this thing called Kwanzaa that's supposed to change the vibration of the people and whatever like that. Obviously that ain't working. We need to try something different. Because we've been doing Kwanzaa for years. How much problems has Kwanzaa solved?
The purpose of it is to educate change the minds of our people. You know, from what same thing you're doing here. You're trying to change some direction.
And that's what we were saying in the beginning.
And that's what
don't look at what black guys do and what Moors do as relative. It's not the same, because he doesn't have a nationality. He's a CIA, FBI agent. His job is to get the people to stay in this African mindset, that they're African. If you're African, that means you're not from here. And if you're not from here, that means you're a foreigner. But we're not foreigners. This is our land. This is an Olmec head, right? The Olmec's been in this land for 50,000 years. They had principles. How come he doesn't just use these guys' principles? How come he has to go across the continent to go get some principles to bring them back over here when there's principles that's been here, laid down here for generations? I'm not against the principles. I'm against, it's no different than people saying, let's call Al Sharpton to come speak for our situation or whatever. He's an FBI agent. Why are you calling him? Well, how are we gonna expect to get, it's like, if we ask Chinese people, what do you guys do to traders of your race? Traders? What's that? They don't exist after they become a trader. They don't exist after they become a trader. Kwanzaa is because he was a trader and he wanted to look good to the black community, so he started something to look good to the black community again after he's a sellout. Don't think about other principles. You know, principles are universal. But that guy, nobody should be repping nothing that guy comes with, because he's an agent. CIA, FBI agent. Documented fact that he's an agent. Been an agent.
Where we can find that at?
Huh?
Where can we find that at?
You just Google online Karenga CIA. See how much stuff comes up. Again, the principles are universal. Again, 7. This is the holy book of the Moors. We know about the 7. 7 principles, 7 candlesticks, 7 this and that, 7 using the candlesticks to represent light, bringing light to the people. We understand the science. I'm not dissing the science. I'm saying that there's something from 1913 that we haven't tried, but we're going to try this 1960 stuff. There's something from 1913 that we tried. We're going to try 1930 stuff. There's something from 1913 that came, but we're going to try 1940 stuff. There's something from 1913 that came, but then we're going to try 1980. There's something from 1913 that came, but we're going to try all these other stuff from all these other people, and we're not going to consider once what Noble Drew Ali brought, which was our nationality.
And then he had no faults, Noble Ali. He was perfect.
Well, according to the teachings of the Moors, a prophet is a thought of God manifested in flesh. Nobody's perfect. But if God's thought came in human form to you and told you to do something, I would get down with it. Just because that's God's thought. That's not that individual. I'm not perfect. I sold drugs and stuff like that. I had guns and all that type of stuff. Ain't nobody perfect. But if people are working against what the real issue is, we don't need any more celebrations. We've been doing celebrations. We've been celebrating. I'm not against celebrating, but We need to get serious. We're behind right now. People are getting choked out in the street. People are getting shot. Not even people, children.
I know.
It's bad right now, as far as our people are concerned. We're not in no situation where we should be trying to find somewhere to go buy some, new shoes and jeans and, stuff for. You know how bad our situation is right now? And nobody has the guts to tell us how bad our stuff is because they're scared. They come to us with some stuff, we'll burn down their stuff. And not deal with the enemy, not deal with the real issue. And the real issue is that we are classified as stateless people. And if you're classified as stateless, it doesn't matter what you celebrate. It's irrelevant what you celebrate if you're stateless. I get it. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you're an elder. I get where you're coming from.
But it's really more than a celebration. It's an ingathering of the people.
Right.
Just like here today. This is an ingathering.
Right.
Where the people come together and communicate and commune with one another the way we're doing now.
But the difference is that the information about your nationality is something that is actually going to change what the problems are out there. Kwanzaa is not changing any problems. It's just getting us to, accept the ass kicking a little longer.
You can't say that it's not changing. You have to see what the laws are going to do as a result of the laws. I have seen some changes in people behind Kwanzaa.
Most definitely.
Myself.
Yeah.
That's how I came into the knowledge and became conscious by listening to a lady for 7 days. Those principles. That's how I came into the knowledge. I know that they can be effective.
It's like we say, kindergarten's for children. When you're adult, you better start writing essays and stuff like that. Don't be talking about, words and letters. You better have a 50-page essay if you're an adult. Don't tell me about no 2-3 things that you learned and that helps you or whatever. Because when and I know that it's hard to swallow this pill that our own sold us out. No matter what good stuff that they brought and all that stuff, they sold us out. Just like when people say, Malcolm X and his principles and whatever like that. Ain't nobody named Malcolm X. He proclaimed his nationality. His name's Malcolm El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz. He's not Malcolm X no more.
I know.
Yeah, but nobody doesn't call him El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz though. They call him Malcolm X forever, when Malcolm is a slave name. And he told the people, I ain't no slave. He told the people, human rights. We're moving away from civil rights. We're now going towards human rights. Why? Because he had a nationality. Why did the UN say, come on and come talk? Because he had a nationality. And as soon as we could accept that reality before, right? Let me put it different. How about we have a nationality, then go celebrate Kwanzaa? How about that? How about we learn what our nationality is and then go celebrate or practice or whatever we want to do with regard to the liberation of our people? Because if we do anything before we have a nationality, whatever we're doing has no power, whether it's at law, whether it's at economics, whether it's at social relations with people, whether it's at education, whatever, it's not going to have any power. And we see that right now, going on right now. Because I know people who they've been doing Kwanzaa for past, whatever. They got divorce going on in their family. They got children, got issues or whatever. They're supposed to know themselves. How they know themselves through this jurisdiction of Kwanzaa, but they still got problems that they shouldn't be having because they're following these principles. Obviously, something's missing. And we have to, we go nowhere if we put the cart before the horse. And we constantly put the cart before the horse under misconceptions that that's how stuff runs. When it doesn't run like that. Brother in the back.
Okay.
If you could talk up a little.
How can we expect to, well, I guess I should rather ask, until we recreate our definition of ourselves as a people, is that the only way to assert our claim to nationhood?
It's not recreating. It's already there. We just never claimed it.
Right, but I understand what you're saying in the sense that, you know, the media and even amongst ourselves, we've changed or more or less tarnished, you know, what us as a people are. And until we have that consolidated, you know, confirmed image of us as a people that everybody can agree on, from there, we can then, you know, define ourselves as a nation. Is that what you're saying?
Right. And that identification of self is already there. Just like the brothers upstairs playing chess. Moors founded that. Not some Africans. Moors founded chess. M-O-O-R-S. Moors. Not some Africans founded chess. That's a Moorish game. Which really goes into military strategy. It's not even some board stuff.
You see, I think it's amalgamated, you know, no matter if it's, you know, Moorish or if it's coming from West, East, South Africa, the fact that it's African, you know, that's what creates the solidarity. It's just so much that, you know, there's too many labels prescribed to us as a people, so it creates
and that's what we're eliminating, because like we're talking about earlier before you came, that Africa comes from a Roman. Africa comes from a Roman, a European by the name of Scipio Africanus. The term Africa comes from him. And then from Arabic, Africa comes from Farouk, which means to separate. So if we're going to call ourselves a word or a name that means to separate, can we have unity?
Well, all of Africa used to be Ethiopia, right?
Yeah, but Ethiopia comes from Ethiops, which is Greek.
Which means?
Which means burnt face.
That's us.
Yeah, but before Ethiopia, that was called Abyssinia. And before that, it was called Kush.
Mm-hmm.
But now the only thing Kush is today is blunts.
Not to me.
Yeah, not to you.
Right.
Right, not to us. But comes back to what the brother's saying about media, etc., that Kush has been lost. People don't even know that Kush is Kemet. People say, yeah, oh yeah, the ancient Egyptians. There's no such thing as ancient Egyptians. The Kushites founded Egypt. Ethiopians, as you call them, founded Egypt.
No, Egypt was the daughter of Ethiopia. All that used to be one.
But the people were known as Kushites, not Egyptians. Upper and Lower Egypt is Kush. And then Kush went into India, Sri Lanka, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, you go ahead, bro. I know you had your hand
I'm
up.
going to ask you this. Proud before Noble Drew Ali, if my history correct, when the Elijah Muhammad as well as Fard Muhammad, which was part of the
Ahmadiyya movement.
Did he already establish that the nationality probably before his assassination in Detroit? Or was it afterward? Because you know he got assassinated in Detroit, Noble Drew Ali.
Right.
And then my next question is that when he made the trip to Egypt, you got the information on that, what he was doing in Egypt? Was he studying in Egypt? What was it? He was trying to, you know, bridge a gap or something?
Okay. Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those who love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order, and your children will learn to love instead of hate. The lessons in this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity. As I am a prophet, and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time was appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed these secrets. And for the first time in ages have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet, 1927. So when he made his pilgrimage to go study in Egypt, India, and Palestine, or what people would say Middle East or whatever, right? He went there to receive or get these lessons of the 18 years of Jesus' life that was obsolete from the so-called Bible that all of our people were following, because all of our people adopted Christianity as their religion. So these were the missing keys from Christianity to get them to return back to their Muslim ancient foremothers and forefathers state of mind, because Yahshua wasn't Christian. He had nothing to do with Christianity. Christianity, once again, just like Africa, was founded by a Roman or a European. And there's no need for our people to follow that for the salvation of themselves. So him going and getting these lessons and bringing them back here was for us to get ourselves back into the frame of mind of our ancient foremothers and forefathers, which is metaphysics and astrology, cosmology, cosmogony. Once we get those things back, then we start seeing things changing for the better. But remember, like it said, the reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. Why did they keep them back from the outside world? Because the outside world, which was Europeans, was going around destroying everything. So in China, they built the wall. And they built this long-ass wall so Europeans couldn't get into China. That's why they built the Great Wall of China, to keep Europeans from getting over there, destroying all their stuff that they still have today. Buddhist principles and all that line Taoism and all that type of stuff that is still available today because of them building that wall. Whereas we can't find anything about our culture because Europeans destroyed all that. Because we didn't have the common sense to say, oh, we need to put a brick wall between us and this guy to stop him from coming in our land, stealing our stuff. That's why when you go to the continent right now, you're going to see a European standing on a stage in a freaking field or whatever with 100 million Africans listening to him talking about Jesus. And they don't want to recognize Obatala. They want to recognize Ogun. They don't want to recognize Shango. They don't want to recognize none of their ancient Aboriginal culture. They want to recognize something that Europeans said. And then our people want to go back there, when those people are 200 years behind us. We're advanced more than them over there. Those people are still putting their face in a cow's ass to make a cow milk come up and stuff like that. This is their mentality. People on the continent right now, they got so much issues with this European because of their own selling them out, bringing IMF over there to come give them bailout packages and all this type of stuff. When that's a European, but then, Gaddafi wants to pay off Africa's debt and nobody wants to back him because, he looks like a pale Arab or whatever. What do you mean? What are you talking about? He was willing to pay off Africa's debt. He was willing to put a satellite so that Africa can have communications all over Africa. One individual. We're not talking about all of them coming together or whatever like that. One guy. What they do? Get him out the way. Just because he was trying to do what everybody's trying to do for these so-called people that are the most deprived people on the planet. Our situation's so bad, but we got shoe boxes to the ceiling, 300 a pair, and we only have 2 feet. And we say we have nothing? Over 80 billion served at McDonald's is mainly us. They know Europeans go to McDonald's to go eat nothing. They know that that's cardboard. Who's going to buy cardboard with ketchup? Talk about that's a meal. European came out with fast food, whatever, showing how in 30 days he went from 130 pounds or whatever to 300 pounds in 30 days just from eating McDonald's. And he's a European, so you know that his metabolism is, not even in comparison to ours. And then when we look at our people who go up in them spots, they're 500, 600 or whatever pounds talking about, it's hard to lose weight or whatever. Well, maybe you stop eating McDonald's, you lose some weight. It's real easy when you change your diet. Your thinking changes, how you breathe changes, how you smell changes, everything changes. Right? With regard to the assassination, remember that Elijah Muhammad was fez wearer. This is before 1930 when they founded the Nation of Islam. And remember, the Nation of Islam was founded as the Temple of Islam. Allah's Temple of Islam. Before they said Nation of Islam. How come they called it Temple of Islam before Nation of Islam? Because they were members of the Moorish Science Temple. And temple is a Moorish theme that they hijacked. Because remember, Elijah Fard and all those guys, they were the ones running the Detroit Moorish Science Temple of America during Noble Drew Ali's time. Then they assassinate him, get him out the way, take the seat of authority, say that this is a nation, and then everybody backs that when... If they're an Islamic nation, how come ISIS isn't part of them? ISIS is Islamic. How come ISIS isn't part of the Nation of Islam? How come anybody who calls themselves Muslim goes Sunni, Shiite, whatever, goes to Mecca, run around a cube, kiss black stone? How come they're not members of the Nation of Islam? If Islam is a nation founded by Fard Muhammad and Elijah Muhammad, then every Muslim should be part of that. Because it's not a nation. Because those guys are fraud. Just like everybody else. Just like Al Sharpton's a fraud, Jesse Jackson's a fraud, had a direct hand in Martin Luther King's assassination. How come when Martin Luther King got assassinated, everybody went to the hospital except Jesse Jackson? And that's the guy that they chose to interview. And then all of a sudden, after he's assassinated, Jesse Jackson rises to some power in the black people community or whatever. All these guys are agents. And their job was to get the people to detach from what Noble Drew Ali brought and follow everything else and anybody else. But as soon as Noble Drew Ali comes up, Nah, you can't go there. You know, they're a sect of Islam. They're a Muslim sect or whatever. They're wearing fezzes that come from Turks. You know, we show pictures of Noble Drew Ali, right? He was a diplomat for the Moors. Noble Drew Ali was meeting with congressmen and stuff like that. Noble Drew Ali wasn't some soapbox guy. He was. This is a picture of Noble Drew Ali with Congressman Oscar DePriest, who everybody knows is the first black congressman of Chicago. How come Noble Drew Ali's with him? How come he's with Noble Drew Ali? How come he's willingly sitting here with Noble Drew Ali as the so-called first black congressman of Chicago? But so you know, and then don't forget, they're gonna honor Oscar DePriest now. Remember, they're gonna honor him. They're gonna write about him, first black congressman or whatever like that. But they're not ever gonna show this picture. And it's not just him in there. There's other so-called European politicians. That's why Noble Drew Ali made the statement: if the Europeans gonna help me, what the hell's wrong with you guys? If the Europeans gonna stand up, just like we showed the lady at the beginning with the Corsica. If she's gonna stand up for Corsica, she's not standing up for Scotland, England, whatever like that. She's standing up for a Moorish jurisdiction as a European. Everybody. It's unfortunate, but the reality is that everybody sold out. Right? All the so-called Rastafarians, right? They're not gonna talk about Charles Edwards proclaiming his nationality to Emmanuel. They're not going to talk about Haile Selassie wearing a crown called a triple crown that looks like a fez without a tassel on it. They don't talk about that. They don't talk about all this stuff. Yeah, he stepped on the bomb that was supposed to go off in Mussolini or whatever like that and all this. When that's... How about talk about the real issue? He went to Jamaica, told all Jamaicans, you know, you guys are brothers and stuff with the Ethiopians. They don't need to come all the way over here or whatever, even though he gave them land over Shashamani and all that stuff, that they went there and they still never built that up yet. Even though, you know, according to Rastafarians, Haile Selassie is their god or whatever like that. He gave them land in Ethiopia and they never took one truck, one forklift or whatever over there to go build that up. And they want respect from the international community. They want to be looked at as, you know, they're doing something for people when all they do 12 hours, 13 hours a day is just beat the drums and all that, and that's it. That's all you guys do, beat drum, that's it. You guys not doing nothing for community, you're not building no schools, nothing like that. And then they want people to respect that position. They want to know why people just label them as weed smokers and all that type of stuff. Big picture, we're not seeing it. All we're seeing is puzzle pieces, thinking that, oh yeah, that's the big picture, when that's a puzzle piece. We're looking at a part of a shattered mirror, talking about, oh yeah, you know, this little piece of the mirror, I can see my full wardrobe, and you know what I mean? And our stuff is all out of order. So once we realize what is it, when we compare ourselves to every other nation, right? We compare ourselves to every other nation. The only thing that we don't have that everybody else has is a nationality. That's the only thing. Everything else, we can be, it's an equal playing field. But not having a nationality is like saying, hammer this nail and don't give them a hammer. And you got people with rocks trying to think, bending up nails or whatever like that. Try to use their hand, pushing stuff down, talking about, yeah, you got plywood like this and you got a nail like this and you're trying to use your hand when you should be using a hammer. And nobody gave the secret up that, hey, you know, you use a hammer, you get more stuff done. faster. It's like one of the Moorish elders say, you know, you want to kill a fly, you're not using a fly swatter, you use a bat, and you end up tearing up the whole house trying to kill a fly with a bat instead of using a fly swatter. And you want to know how come people are looking at us weird? How come people are choking us out in the street or whatever? Right? Even that. All these people out here that are fighting for whatever liberation that they say that they're fighting for, when they check the record, they'll realize that all these so-called black leaders always come up and talk about civil rights. Why are they talking about civil rights for? All these people talking about civil rights. That's all they bring up every time. Civil rights, civil rights. All they do is civil rights or whatever, right? The barbarous, now this is from the perspective of a black guy, right? So you know where their mentality is, why they keep bringing up civil rights. The barbarous decision of the United States Supreme Court declaring Civil Rights Act unconstitutional and disrobing the colored race of all civil protection, the most cruel and inhumane verdict against a loyal people in the history of the world. Also, the powerful speeches of Honorable Frederick Douglass and Colonel Robert G. Ingersoll, jurist and famous orator. Keep in mind, in case you didn't know, color is a law term that means fake. So if somebody says that they're part of something called the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, that's National Association for the Advancement of Fake People. People call themselves disrobing the fake race of all civil protection. Well, if it's a fake race, they don't got no civil protection. There's not even nothing to bring up. It's not even an argument. As soon as you say colored people, people already, they're just sitting back. Yeah, come to the UN. Laughing at these people. Make an ass out of themselves. Laughing at them. Just because. Since 1883, civil rights is unconstitutional. But black guys, Negroes, colored African Ethiopians want to talk about, oh, they're stealing people's civil rights because they made the Civil Rights Act unconstitutional. How about just have a nationality so you don't need civil rights? And then the human rights apply now if you have a nationality. If you don't have a nationality, then no rights apply, not even civil rights. Why publish this decision? The reason I have gone to the United States Court Library in Washington, D.C., so they know where the law comes out of. Right? Black guy said himself, I have gone to the United States Supreme Court Library, not the federal court library, not the district court library, not the municipal court library, the Supreme Court Library. That means they know where to go to get the info. And procured a true and correct copy of the revolting decision which declared the Civil Rights Bill unconstitutional and entails upon the colored people, once again, as soon as he mentions it, whatever you're talking about is void. But we'll continue to prove the point. The colored people of the United States, every species of indignities known to proscription, persecution, and even death itself, and will culminate in their leaving the United States or occupying the status of free slaves until extermination follows, is because the great mass of our people in this country, including black and white, once again, fiction again, but for the sake of argument, we'll keep going. But the fact he mentioned colored and black and white in this, void. Tear this up. Don't even talk about nothing no more, because rights don't apply to people who call themselves colors. Period. People can take it as whatever they want, but that's the reality if people want to deal with the reality. If you want to deal with illusion, then hey, go out there, march, picket, whatever, right? They have the thing about, wear the shirt, I can't breathe or whatever like that. And then when they tear gas your ass, you can't breathe for real. But they're not going to look at it like that. They're supporting something, you know, for our people, so I'm going to wear this shirt, you know, I cannot breathe, right? And then, you know, Jay-Z's going to come pose up with all the players wearing the I can't breathe shirt, but he's not wearing one. I mean, people not getting what's going on? How come he's not wearing one? You know, all these players are wearing one. Oh, that's right, because at the back of their jersey, it's written in all capital letters. Same thing like a license, which means that they're a corporate person. That's why Sterling could say, don't bring niggers to the game and all that type of stuff. And nobody does anything about it. Their protest is, well, we're not going to wear our jerseys today or whatever. That's your protest? How about you guys leave the goddamn league if they're so racist? How about you start your own league? They got so much money that they can start their own league tomorrow. But they're not going to start their own league to show these young people what it means to be, just like Nas said in Hidden Colors. How come everybody wants to do songs with me? How are we collaborating to do songs? How are we collaborating to start a business? We got money to do that. How come we're not collaborating? This is Nas talking. How come we're not collaborating to start businesses? How come everybody who's a rapper, MC, or whatever, they want to collaborate with me to do a song that we've been doing since the 80s or whatever, doing songs together? Nobody said, hey, why don't we start up our own record label? Nobody never said that. They got enough money that they could print up their own CDs, records, and all that. They don't need no EMI, Universal, or whatever to put out more records. They were doing. How Master P get rich? Selling records out the trunk. Out the trunk. How we sell records back in the day? Out the trunk. We didn't no deal. Everybody wants a deal now. Everybody wants basketball contract. Everybody wants all these things to tie them to this European instead of being independent. But you know, if you have no nationality, you can't be independent. You're subject to slave codes, whether it's black codes, Christian codes, whatever codes that they created during slavery. All those things apply today to people who don't have nationality. That's why they could pepper spray all these people congregating, because Christian black code says that slaves can't congregate. As soon as you congregate, we got the whoever to come and do whatever to you. Forget about your situation that you're fighting about. We don't care about that. The fact that you're congregating and you don't have a nationality, that's considered insurrection. And if you're insurgent, then whatever we do to you, you call it on yourself, because you shouldn't be an insurgent. You're supposed to be a human being. And human beings aren't insurgents. Human beings aren't traitors, sell out their own people.
Could you please explain the colorable to them?
Right.
Why we color law? Could you please explain the issue of color law?
From a law perspective, there's right law or positive law and negative law. Positive law applies to human beings, nationals, etc. Negative law is law that is created. So here's an example of positive law. Here's an example of positive law. The right to travel, the right to mode of conveyance, the right to locomotion are all absolute rights, and the police cannot make void the exercise of rights. The use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and natural beings, not corporate beings, natural beings cannot be rightfully deprived. The right to park or travel is part of the liberty of which the natural person, not corporate person or artificial person, the natural person, citizen, cannot be deprived without due process of law under the Fifth Amendment of the United States Constitution. The right of a citizen to travel upon the public highway and to transport one's property thereon, either by carriage or automobile, is not a mere privilege, which a city may prohibit or permit at will. So a city prohibiting or permitting somebody from doing something that's a right, they can only do that under color of law. They can't do that under natural law. So if you have we use license for example, since everybody knows license. When they say when they pull you over, they give you a ticket because you were driving without a license, right? When you go to court, they're gonna bring up some code that they created because that code is attached to that license through you signing or having a contract to go by the code. That's color of law. The right that you have. Where's that good one? Oh. State police power extends only to immediate threats to public safety, health, welfare, etc., which driving and speeding are not. Police powers, the powers that the police have, extends only to immediate threats to public safety. Driving and speeding are not threats to public safety. So there are no reason for them to turn on lights, chase you down the street, pull you over because you were speeding or whatever. That's color of law, why they pull you over. Really, you're not supposed to be speeding, but if you were speeding, you're not breaking the law. You're breaking some color of law that they created through a contract, through a license or birth certificate, whatever instrument it is that you have, to get you under that jurisdiction of color of law. But if you know better, you get a nationality and then you tie yourself to natural citizen instead of artificial citizen that is subject to some artificial stuff that they made up to try to get mainly our people to think that they're citizens when that falls under the jurisdiction of the 14th Amendment, which has never been ratified, is not a legitimate identity or political position of anybody. How come nobody else is under the jurisdiction of 14th Amendment citizen except us when they come to America? Nobody else falls under the jurisdiction of corporate citizen. Majority of people who come from somewhere else, they have a nation that they can go back to if shit gets stick here. If stuff kicks off here, they can say, plane ticket, go back to wherever they came from. We can't. We're stuck here. The state is prohibited from violating substantive rights, and it cannot do by one power, example, police power, that which is, for example, prohibited expressly to any other such power. Example, taxation, eminent domain, as a matter of law, nor indirectly that which is prohibited to it directly. So when we go to the Constitution with regard to color of law, when we go to the Constitution, Article 6. Article 6. This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. So the only law of the land, according to the Constitution, is the Constitution. And then this is what they have to say about color of law. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. Anything that they create that is in contradiction to the Constitution does not have the power of law. That's why in the beginning we were talking about if IRS sends you a letter, immediately write them back a letter, ask them to prove their authority. Immediately. Don't even think about it. Just even if it's one question. Hey IRS, I noticed that you guys say you're taxable or whatever. Well, Constitution says that Congress shall lay and collect taxes. Are you guys Congress? If you answer this question, I'll pay whatever you guys say that I owe. You sign, send that to them. I bet you they don't answer, and I bet you all your stuff suddenly disappear. And you don't owe taxes anymore. Immediately. Your stuff will just disappear. Or they'll send you another letter, and now they'll write everything bold red letters, you better answer. We got the law department now sending you a letter, and then you start panicking because the law department send you a lot of, that's color of law. They don't have no law department in the IRS. They're a fraud. And then we go with that. We go, now they sent red letters. Oh, now we got, calling up grandma or whatever, could you, put a second mortgage on the house, help me pay this thing to the IRS, when those guys are foreigners that are completely violating the Constitution, that they have an oath to uphold. If they got heads of whatever, CEOs or whatever, just like president is a CEO, they're supposed to go by the Constitution. If they're not going by the Constitution, then they're a fraud. You need to hear nothing that they're saying. And we know from building with Moors who have these situations that these situations disappear. Student loan, there's a sister in Detroit, Michigan right now. She had student loan, how much ever, thousands of dollars. They're sending her letters. She's sending them back letters. Hey, you guys said that you're blah, 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 answer these questions. They sent her back something, say, oh, sorry, wrong person, and her student loan disappeared. How much people got student loans, killing themselves, try to pay, have garnishee, people going in their account, taking stuff out and all that stuff, when all they got to do is just question these people on their authority. That's it. And things will start changing. Same thing. Go to court for a ticket. You got a ticket or something like that. A ticket is a lawsuit. And they're suing you because you violated something that you shouldn't have violated, because you're contracted, if you have a license, to follow the rules of the whatever they said. But if that guy on the stand is a magistrate and not a judge, he doesn't have judicial power to do anything. And on top of that, that building that you went into is an administrative building, not a courthouse. And on top of that, the judge is an officer of the court. The district attorney, prosecutor, whoever that's bringing charges against you, he's an officer of the court. And if you hire a lawyer, that guy's an officer of the court. That's conflict of interest. That all these guys are officers of the court, but they're coming against you. That's conflict of interest, which is not due process of law. It's contradictory to the Constitution, notwithstanding. But the only reason they have standing is because sellouts amongst us have never taught our people this since 1913. So you have from 1913 to 2014, where you have these people that have been pretty much got their foot on your table or whatever while you're eating, and you never slapped their foot off the table. You just sat there, let them eat at your table with their foot on the table, and you never slapped their foot off the table. Yeah, you don't do that in your mom's house. Why you coming to my house, put your foot on my stuff? Our people caused that, and they got comfortable. And now we're coming into knowledge of nationality and birthrights, and then now you see in the news, oh yeah, that lady said she's a Moor, she stole a house and she got arrested, and everybody's like, oh, I don't want nothing to do with that. Moors get arrested, and when they do stuff, exercise rights. That's not what's going down. She got arrested to prove, she got arrested for the Inquisitionists, the colonists, the Europeans to distract you from getting down with nationality. Because, you know, everybody thinks that once you say you're a Moor, you're going to get arrested or whatever. Because you violate something and, you know, you can't be a Moor. You stole houses. When nobody checked the record to see that they charged her with abusing an officer or something. They didn't even charge her for stealing a house. If you know the story about the sister who stole the house, they had her in the news and all that stuff. She didn't steal no house. She never got charged for that.
Right.
So doesn't that mean that stealing houses is legit then? If they never charge her for stealing a house, what does that mean? That all these abandoned stuff out here, that people pass by every day, talking about, oh yeah, we need this, we need that for our community. How about you just claim that abandoned stuff that's been abandoned for the past 20 years? How about you go claim that? And then fix that up. Right? And then you get all these people on welfare, out of their welfare stuff, and then go in that. Go look for the movie Stick Up Kids. Go watch the movie Stick Up Kids, right? Big Red, you know, Hawthorne James, Big Red from a 5 Heartbeats. You guys know what I'm talking about. He made a movie called Stick Up Kids, talking about some young brothers who were in the street or whatever, that their uncle or granddad, somebody had a deed for all this land in New York or whatever like that. And, you know, the city was trying to get the deed from the granddad to the point where they tried to assassinate him or whatever like that in order to get the deed. They found out that, you know, this guy's, you know, yeah, spoiler alert, but they found out that the mayor or whoever that was trying to steal the deed had a daughter. And then they seduced the daughter or whatever, you know, because she's European. She likes, you know, she likes the harem. You know, she likes to be with the black guys because, you know, right? She got with them, right? When she got with them, gave up the deed because, you know, she was getting a good pipe. Gave up the deed. They took the deed, claimed the hood, and put everybody in free housing. And eliminated all the so-called, there was an Arab guy that had a store, right? They kicked that guy out the community because, you know, now that they have the deed, what are you doing here? You're Arab. You shouldn't be in this community selling nothing around here. Oh, you're Korean? Oh, you shouldn't be around here selling nothing. You need to go back where you came from because this is not your jurisdiction. And kicked everybody out who had business or whatever that didn't look like Asiatic. And gave everything to the hood. Stick Up Kids. That's a reality that we could manifest. But it's only going to manifest if, one, we have a nationality, and two, you stop playing around like studying is the plague. And go study. Real study. You know, we already gave out the law dictionary, so you have that. You got a law dictionary. Make sure you get unabridged dictionaries. You can go on eBay and get them. You can go to estate sales. You can go to little mom and pop's bookstores or whatever, and start getting all this stuff back, bringing them back. You have study groups. You got a place right here that I'm sure I already talked to the people or whatever, right? Weekdays here is free. You don't have to pay nothing to rent no space up in here. They got rooms upstairs for days. They got rooms upstairs. Rooms down here. You start study groups and you start studying the same information that we're talking about. Get everybody around here on a certain mindset and then take over this place. As Moors. Because Moors are doing that everywhere. In Toronto, there's Moors who go to court so much and fight the court that they can't even get to the door. Prosecutors running out to tell them, just, we threw your stuff out. You don't even have to come in. Why? Because as soon as Moors walk into somewhere, everybody's, who's those guys? Everybody has questions. Everybody wants to know what's up. Yo, why you guys wear that hat or whatever? You guys Masons? Hey, where are you from? All the time. Just because. of the impact that this information has. Again, we're talking from experience. Moors aren't talking from something we heard or whatever. We're talking about what we did. I'm telling you, I had my own plates and stuff like that in Toronto for months, getting followed all over the place, never pulled over. They follow me from one end of the city to the next end of the city. Just follow. No lights, no nothing. Look back, they're back there. Look back, they're back there. Look back in front, and they turn off and go about their business. It's really real. There's Moors right now who they got mortgages and they're challenging the mortgage company. Right now, they're asking the mortgage question, same thing that we're talking about, bill of particulars. Who are you? Show me that you have the deed of trust for this property that I'm mortgaging from you. When you present me the deed of trust, then I'll have conversations about paying you guys something. Until you show me that, you guys aren't getting anything from me. And what do? Make up stuff, say this, say that, but nobody's not bringing no deed of trust. Oh, yeah. Then you're not getting no more. And brother's still in the house right now. He hasn't paid mortgage in about 3 months. They haven't gone in his account, take nothing out. Money's sitting there. He even told him, yo, you guys go take your stuff. Money's sitting there in the account. They're not going to garnish nothing, go inside his account, take stuff without his permission, because he put them on notice, let them know. If you guys go in there, you guys got a lawsuit coming. Because you guys need to prove to me that you have the deed of trust. The only person that should have the deed of trust is the one who's mortgaging. So you mortgage company, okay, where's the deed of trust at? If you can't show me that, don't talk to me about paying you anything about mortgage. Brother's been in the house, still in the house right now. No sheriff coming, knock, yo, you've been evicted, why are you still in here? None of that. Nothing. And like we were showing with the European, Christopher Fleming, go look him up on YouTube. Christopher Fleming, European saying that I am a subject of the Moors. You guys don't have any jurisdiction over me. So-called police want to kill him. Literally, police want to kill him, threatened his life numerous times because he did the same thing, claimed the house, went to court, won, and judge said, are you guys bothering him? Leave him alone, that's his house. What they do? Go get a contract from the mortgage company, threaten this guy that we're going to kill you if you go in that house. Even though he has papers from the court saying that he won. Why? Because if he starts talking about that, that's precedent. That anybody here could go claim some stuff out there that's abandoned. Or even if they got a sign saying for sale. You would pull the sign out the ground and go claim that property. Why? Because this is our land. Are Europeans going to be selling stuff in our land and not cutting us off nothing? Are you not going to break me off when we put you on? We're the Moors. We took all these Europeans out the Dark Ages. You know what kind of debt they owe us? This European wouldn't know how to shower if it wasn't for Moors. European wouldn't know how to do anything that they do right now if it wasn't for Moors. Not Africans or whoever else, Moors. Any more questions? How is time looking? Where are we at right now?
3 hours.
So it's probably about 4. Right. Everybody clear? Yeah.
I apologize, I can't relate. I don't know what all you went over in the lecture. Did you talk about the letter George Washington wrote to the Sultan?
Yeah, to the Sultan, yeah.
You went over that letter?
Yeah, we didn't go over it, but we brought it up. Yeah. Right? And then there's verification again. Somebody else verifying. Oh yeah, go check that letter from George Washington because it tells you in the letter. Like it tells you that they're foreigners here. George Washington wasn't the first president and all that stuff that they've been lying to people, telling them. Because there was, and you know, right in the back, they got the book right around the corner right there. They got the book, 5 Negro Presidents or whatever before George Washington. Right around the corner, right here in this spot right here. I saw how long them books been there about president before George Washington. And our people oblivious.
Yes, what is the process of proclaiming our nationality?
What we really, the perspective is having it as a mentality, having nationality as a mindset. Just like we have, you know, before you can make a jump shot, catch a ball, you need to know how to do that. You're not gonna run out on the field like, yeah, pass me the ball. You better go to some practices or something like that, know the plays or whatever like that. Same concept with this. Know what your nationality is. Once you know what it is, and you're sure in your mind that you're not Negro, black, colored, and nobody can't throw you a whatever and make you swerve or swivel, get wobbly. You know, you hear SETI talk or something like that, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be a Moor because SETI said something, right? Have nationality here first. We tell people, because of the infiltration in the Moorish Science Temple, if you're going to proclaim your nationality through the Moorish Science Temple, same thing, have a perfect mindset so that when you go there, you could know if they're playing you or not. Other than that, there's a website, rvbaypublications.com, where you can get all the information that you need that we talked about today and more stuff. And RV Bay, B-E-Y, publications.com. And then that's and then what they do is they issue a nationality card, but understand that it's not from them, right? The card's not from them. The card's from your nation. And that's the same card that we show taxes off, popo, stop us, whatever. We have to prove who we are. We show that.
So, the card is not from them. So how can they issue something if they're not the nation?
They're representatives of the nation, because the nation hasn't had proper representation for like 80, 90 years. Because a lot of the Moorish Science temples took the position of siding with the European, telling people that they got to pay taxes and they need licenses still and stuff like that, when that's not what Noble Drew Ali came to bring to people. He brought us our freedom. He never brought us enslavement. You know, there are some temples out there that are running things how they're supposed to be run, you know, but that's like 5% of the Moorish Science temples in America.
Do you know of any?
There's Grand Sheik Nature El Bay in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. Their website is moorishguidepost.org. moorishguidepost.org. There's some Moors in South Carolina under a brother by the name of Jelani Bey. Those Moors are running things, you know what I mean, how they're supposed to run. Matter of fact, when I had the issue with them stopping me and hijacking my plates, kidnapping my plates, the Moors in South Carolina is who we went to tighten up our right to travel demonstration, because they've been doing that for 20 years in South Carolina. Traveling with no licenses and Moorish plates. 20 years they've been doing that. Not getting any problems, no issues or whatever. There's a temple in California that's doing stuff properly. There's also different branches or sects of Moors. So you have the Washita Moors with Brother Alim El Bey in North Carolina. They're doing stuff, you know, how things are supposed to be done. But, you know, with regard to the nationality, it's a mindset. Once we have it as a mindset, then all the other stuff is going to fall into place. There's a saying that when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Well, the teacher is really self. The teacher is not some guy walking through the door. That's going to be, the teacher is really you. So once you vibrate on a certain frequency, things will come to you that have to do with where your frequency is. It's just automatic. It will just automatically come to you just because you're vibrating on the right frequency. And once we start vibrating on the right frequency, we'll realize, like, for example, like, I don't see, you know, like, when I was in the streets every day, you get one of these guys coming up, check your pockets, go in your pockets, plant stuff, whatever. You got more signs there, you become invisible to them people.
Your energy is different.
Because your energy is different. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's like Matrix, it's like Neo sitting in front, Morpheus, with the pills, take the pill or whatever, and then the guy in 3 flying around. He's not the guy taking pills no more, you know, oh wow, this is an interesting mirror and all this stuff, and getting sucked in the mirrors and stuff like that. He's not a novice anymore. Now he's adept. Now he knows what it is. Now he knows that, oh wow, that's not really a wall or whatever. That's, you know what I mean? Oh, that's a bullet. I can actually hold the bullet and stuff like that. Oh, is that really air you're breathing? Hey, I'm not breathing air right now because this is the Matrix. It's not real. Like, my real self is in the chair, you know what I mean? Getting downloaded. You know? Once the frequency changes, we realize that this is really real. You know what I mean? And and the individual have to recognize. I can say whatever. You know what I mean? All I'm here to do is inspire people to take this a little serious. That's all. I'm not here to give anybody, you know, red pills, blue pills, and all that stuff. Just consider this. And if you do your own research based on what we talked about, you'll find out more stuff that you'll be coming here talking about. Yeah, I need to rent some space so we could do Moorish lecture because I found out some stuff. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And we get this done.
What nation you said the Moors? You know, like every name comes from a nation.
Yeah.
What nation does the Moors come from?
Moroccan.
Oh, Morocco.
But Morocco over here, not Africa.
Oh, okay.
El Morak.
Yeah.
El Morak.
Okay.
This is what this is called. El Morak.
El Morak.
El Morak.
Okay.
L-E-L or A-L? L or Al Morak?
Al Morak.
Yeah. M-A-R-O-C.
Located where?
Above Mexico.
Above Mexico?
Yeah. That they call U.S. on the map and Canada. Mm-hmm. But when you ask the people who are they, when they say they're U.S. citizens, they don't say United Statesian. They say American. But America's a continent, so you can't be American. Just like Africa is a continent, you can't be African. Because if you ask somebody from Africa where they're from, they're Nigeria, Kenya, Congo, they don't say they're African. Go ask them. They never say that they're African. Any more questions? All right, because I know we're probably over our time right now. So, once again, thank everybody for taking their time to be here. Hope you learned something. If you didn't learn something, rvbaypublications.com, you can go there. northgatemoors.webs.com, you can go there. Google Noble Drew Ali, see what he's about. Google Washita Moors. Google Louisiana Purchase. Find out Louisiana goes from here all the way to the Great Lakes near Canada. Louisiana is not just this state. Louisiana goes from here all the way to Canada. historically, not today, but historically. And you know, we'll be here. I'm here for a little bit. You know, we'll be here for a little bit. We got DVDs here, 3 for $20. We got books here, 3 for $20. And obviously we have Nubian Culture Bookstore, where you can get everything else. Thank y'all for your time, and Islam. You okay?
Good. Good to see you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
Islam, brother.
I
Thank you. We're here, okay.
Hey, you got a front row seat.
Oh, you have?
Yes, sir. It's all right. Good. Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Good you can make it.
Yeah, man, I got here real late, bro.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to get him in my people took the car this morning.
The one of those ones.
Yeah.
Try to stop the bike.
Then look, I'm on the way. I'm on the way. Dude, you never know you're so not freaking highway. Yeah. On a moped.
Yeah. So you're trapped.